Welcome to Poopcast. I'm Jimmy Davis.
I'm the guy that loves pooping.
And I'm DaThings1.
And for those of you who haven't been listening to our previous episodes and don't know, this is the final episode of Season 1 of Poopcast. We've been going on now for a year with our guest episodes, and so after this we're going to kind of take a break for a month or two, or however long it ends up taking. But anyway, I guess we can get into our episode, this episode with our guest, DaThings1. I'm sure, I'd be willing to bet everybody listening to this already knows who you are, but
yeah,
on the off chance...
Might be a little generous, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have like, I think we only have like 300 or 400 subscribers on the Poopcast channel, but there might be one person who hasn't heard of you.
Sure.
But I've mentioned many times before, you know, like you were the first YouTube pooper that like I actually knew about, like the first one I subscribed to. Like before that, I knew about YouTube poop for a while, but I didn't know of any like actual YouTube poop channels until I found your channel. And I would consider you like my biggest inspiration for when I was first getting started.
Well, that's flattering. I'm glad I could be your gateway drug.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I guess we'll kind of get started. Then the way we start out every podcast is we ask our guests to basically tell their YouTube poop story, like how you first discovered YouTube poop, some of the first YouTube poops you watched, first YouTube poopers, basically everything leading up to when you decided to start making your own YouTube poops. And you can make it however short or long you feel you need to make it.
Right. Yeah, so when I had just freshly started high school, so this was 2008, 2009, I was in art class with a fellow who goes on the internet now as Silverband, and he was kind of a weird dude. Like we were friends. We were in choir together as well, but he has this habit of mimicking things perfectly. And I mean like spot on. Like he could do a pitch perfect impression of any piece of audio. And he also kind of had this habit of talking to himself a little bit, and he would start saying these things to himself that really like kind of threw me for a loop because I didn't quite understand where he was getting them from. Things like, as long as you have enough rubies, and things like that. And I was like, what a weirdo. Is he talking about Zelda? And clearly he's quoting some Zelda thing, but like it's rupees in Zelda, and I thought he was an idiot. And so,
okay.
And but like, you know. And that was kind of weird that I was just like, clearly this guy's quoting something that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And a little bit later, I really don't remember exactly how I came across the video, but I came across the video Luigi is Racist by Super Yoshi, which is super old YouTube poop. But that sort of like, looking at the stuff that was in the related videos, I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, what are these things? And eventually I of course found some CDI stuff, because again, this is like 2009, and so that was like one of the major things in YouTube poop. And eventually when I kind of put the pieces together, I was like, oh, right, this kid in class was quoting these old games that were terrible and clearly not canon to Zelda. And I wouldn't have called myself like a huge I wouldn't have called myself a huge Zelda fanboy at the time, but I knew enough about it to be like, this is super weird, this is super bizarre. And eventually I came up to him and I was like, hey, you know, like I'm really sorry for like, you know, being a dick basically, and being like, why are you quoting? You're such an idiot and stuff. And we actually became pretty good friends after that. And I kind of started watching some of those videos, and I didn't really decide to start making my own until I had watched a few and was like, I could probably make something that's pretty equal to the very low bar that has been set by the YouTube poopers of the time. So I got on my sister's laptop because I was apparently too young to have one, and I made a couple of CDI things, and they're the first couple videos that are on my YouTube channel still. And I made a few others that some are still on YouTube, some I put on Facebook because for some reason I thought my real friends would be into them, which was kind of a mistake.
Yeah.
But, and you know, that laptop has long since been dead, so a few of those are kind of lost to the void now. But
okay.
But yeah, that was kind of how I started doing stuff, and I did that just kind of whenever I was bored for a long time, and eventually after I hit like 100 subscribers or so, I was like, wow, there's actually a few people who are watching these, so, you know, the rest is kind of history. I just kind of built and kept going from there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at your early videos right now, and looking at it, realizing you're coming up on your 9-year anniversary. Then May 30th was when you uploaded the first one.
That's correct.
Do you have anything planned for that, or just gonna kind of let it come and go?
I won't. Not for 9 years, but 10 years. Next year is going to be a bigger deal, and I don't have any solid plans, but I have been toying with the idea of making something sort of grand for that date.
Okay, yeah, 10 years is a long time really a long time to be doing anything, but especially something that like YouTube poop that I think most people just think is like just random nonsense. It's not important.
It's really surreal to think that it's been that long.
I mean, honestly, I don't. I've been uploading them for 4 years. Technically, been making them for 5 years. I don't think even I was expecting myself to be making them for that long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I know I wasn't expecting to be here this long doing YouTube poops. That's why my channel name is just Jimmy Davis, just a character that I made when I was 14 or 15, I always forget, but I would have come up with a better name if I would have thought it would have stuck around.
Yeah, see, same. DaThings1 was completely a throwaway name.
Yeah, I was going to ask, where did the name come from? Is there any story behind it, or was it just some weird thing you made up on the spot or whatever?
It's actually a reference to the Strong Bad email garage sale, where somebody types an email and casually says, "Oh, you should start a garage sale. Think of all the things you could make with all that money." And then Strong Bad, of course, is like, "Oh, what kind of duh things are we talking about here? Da bomb, da boys," and like makes fun of the guy who sent the email. And there was actually a pretty sizable Homestar Runner fan base back in the day, and I was part of one of the. They had like a fan stuff wiki that I was pretty active on all the time. Like it was borderline unhealthy just how obsessed I used to be with Homestar Runner, but DaThings was my name on there, and that name was taken on YouTube, so I just threw a 1 at the end of it, and that's all there is to it.
Oh yeah, I remember when they used to only be able to have one name on YouTube. Like if a name was taken, you couldn't do it. Like today, you could have a million Jimmy Davis channels, but you couldn't back then. I remember when I made my old YouTube channel, I went through so many different versions of the name. I guess it was probably really only like 4 or 5 different versions of the name. But basically, I didn't want to have numbers at the end of my name because I always hated that for some reason when I was a kid.
You still, obviously, only one person can take the URL. So,
Right.
like, there can only be one youtube.com/user/Jimmy Davis, which I don't know if that's even a thing, actually. You could maybe still claim that URL.
I should look into it.
Yeah, I think it's. I think there's a couple of steps you have to take for it. It's like a subscriber count and an account activity thing, so yours should probably be eligible for that.
Mm-hmm.
I claimed my URL a while back. That was before like there was any need for a certain sub count. So, which by the way, I've even though I've had the name for 4 years, I still wish I would have come up with something other than a guy that loves pooping.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, I think the name is pure shit.
You know.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like the name for this series, Poopcast. I mean, I'm still a year in. I'm still not quite used to the name. I still think it sounds stupid. And whenever I invite somebody to it, I never invite them to be on our podcast, Poopcast. I always just say I have a podcast. It's YTP themed. Would you be interested in being on? But
well,
like I said, I remember when we made the name for it, we just decided, we're gonna hate it either way. Let's just do something. Just do something, whatever.
Sure. I actually, in a similar vein, heard about a podcast that's actually from right here in Columbus where I live called The Fartcast, and it's a 10-second podcast.
Huh.
So,
That sounds interesting. What could you possibly talk about in 10 seconds?
Oh,
like,
absolutely nothing. It is a total nonsense thing, and we actually going on right now is the Columbus Podcast Festival, and I worked it last year. And the guy who does that showed up and basically recorded like 10 episodes in a row from the venue, which I thought was kind of interesting, but not interesting enough for me to actually look into it.
Yeah. Hang on, my phone just went off. I thought I had that muted. I gotta
no
make
worries.
sure that's silenced.
Whoever texted you, just reply with no fuck you.
It wasn't a text. It was Jallerbo asking a question on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Should I still say Logan says fuck you?
No.
Are you sure about that?
It was a joke.
When me and Logan recorded podcast a few weeks ago, well, a month ago or whatever, we did the one with Hoffy 1138.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been up for like a full 24 hours when we recorded that, and then after we were done, I still didn't go to bed, and so me and Logan were going around on these old YouTube poops they were like old YouTube poops with no comments or whatever, and every time we found one without comments, I would like copy paste the same weird, stupid comment. It was. Do you remember what it was, Logan?
First lol epics magnum dong. Logan says hi.
And then I ended it with I haven't slept in 30 hours because I hadn't. And it was hilarious when we were doing it, and the next day I don't know. Like it's weird how you're just like a different person when you're tired. Like I would never do that when I'm wide awake.
Later I did find one of those comments and reply to it with just ass.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm just the type of person that would do that.
And then I also commented that on like a Zootopia YouTube poop that has like 5 million views, and that's getting some replies and likes and stuff.
First.
Yes. I remember when first like those types of comments kind of first became a thing, and I didn't think they would last this long, but they're
still a thing. Not as common anymore, but you still see them sometimes.
Yeah.
They get buried, but...
I think it's just because, like, being the first to do anything is sort of a pride point for people, and, you know, YouTube comments, of course, are no exception to that.
I will admit that I was very tempted one time. I was in a Discord server, a YTP Discord server, and either last year or I think it was last year, Emp Lemon shared a YTP that he was going to upload on the 4th of July. It was a Phineas and Ferb one. I think it's just a YTP of the theme song for Phineas and Ferb. I forget what that one's called.
Mm-hmm.
But he shared that one, and you know, there weren't a ton of people in the server to begin with, and so there were no comments, and I was very, very tempted to do some sort of ironic first comment, but then I figured, you know, at that point when you're doing it ironically, but, you know, you're kind of also, you know, you kind of also mean it when you do it like that, so.
Yeah.
I don't think I commented on that at all, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, sometimes you just take a second and you're like, nah, I'm better than this.
Yes. Although I'm really not. For whatever reason, I had a second thought myself and didn't go through with it.
I think there was one time where there was no comments, and instead of commenting first, I commented 69th exclamation point. Something like that.
Yeah.
I remember just because I'm the type of person that would do that.
Do you remember back when, like, every single YouTube video in, you know, what I call our corner of YouTube would have an annotation somewhere that are like, oh, I can't believe it, the views are over 9,000.
Yeah, I think that was slightly before I really got into YTP, but I do still see stuff like that on YTPs. Mm-hmm. Well, just the over 9,000 thing in general, I think it gets kind of... Like, I see people even today use it, like, when they pass 9,000 subscribers. Like, they'll tweet out, I got, my subscriber count is over 9,000 or something like that.
Right.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know if the meme will ever fully die. I mean, I'm sure maybe it will eventually, but...
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's less like, oh, wow, this is such a funny thing to reference, but more just like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I think we've found in the past few podcasts that it tends to work best if we just kind of go straight into Twitter and YouTube questions, because then we kind of get some conversation out of that.
Sure.
And plus we have a good amount of questions. I think there's a lot of people who are anticipating you being on the podcast, so we got a good amount of questions.
A healthy sum.
Yeah. All right, we'll start out with Twitter. This one's a pretty simple question we could get some conversation out of. This is from at SonicXD. Asks, most wanted characters for Smash 5.
I mean, we already got Inklings, and those are the ones that I wanted most, so I'm gonna be happy either way. And like all the characters that I would actually get excited about are ones that like aren't Nintendo characters or are so obscure that there's no chance they'll ever be in the game. But I would be hyped too if against all odds they were like, hey, you get to play as Hat Kid from A Hat in Time, or Cuphead, or Goombella, you know?
Yeah.
But I know that those are never happening, so I'm okay with that.
I honestly, I really want Rayman. Like I there was that fake leak. I was very disappointed when I found out that was fake because I really wanted Rayman in Smash. I still do. Shovel Knight would be cool. Not gonna happen, but it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Crash Bandicoot and Spyro also, but I doubt those are gonna happen.
Oh yeah, I feel like they'd all fit the universe, but we all know in the back of our minds that it's not gonna happen.
As for Nintendo characters, memes aside, I actually would like to see Funky Kong in the game.
Yeah, sure. I could see that. Ribbon Girl from ARMS is the one like actually somewhat realistic character that I like really want to be in the game. And I said this on Twitter before, but if they throw in an ARMS character, I don't want it to just be Springman because he's so boring.
Yeah. But I mean, to be honest, I think any ARMS character I would like because honestly, I thought ARMS was a pretty underappreciated game. Like it seems like even now, like I hear people talk about it, they're just like, I played it once and then I put it down. Then I was like, I mean, I didn't play a ton of it, but I did really like the game.
Oh yeah, it was super fun.
So.
As for me, honestly, I hardly played Smash 4. I mean, I still don't own a Wii U. I do want to get a Wii U before they become expensive. I think right now they're at like a reasonable price, and they're gonna kind of drop a little bit more, I think, and then they're just gonna shoot up in price. So I should get one of those so I can get Smash for Wii U. But for the 3DS version, I think I mentioned this on a podcast, an earlier podcast, but I think I only put in like 3 hours into that game.
Oof.
It's just, I think...
Really?
Yeah, well, the thing is, for me, I'm not really into... I'm not super into competitive gaming, like specifically like online competitive gaming, and so there's not really a lot of single-player options for you in Smash 4 other than like classic mode. But I think... Brawl is like one of my all-time favorite games, just in general. So I think if there was enough single-player modes in the upcoming Smash, I think I could really get interested in that. I haven't been keeping up to date with the new Smash at all, so I don't know.
Well, fortunately, there's hardly anything to keep up with at this point.
Did you at least watch the reveal teaser?
I only saw the memes.
Oh, you didn't? I've noticed you don't really watch game trailers.
I don't watch movie trailers or game trailers. I just like to be surprised.
See, I don't watch movie trailers, but like every time there's a Nintendo Direct, I watch it. Even if I miss it live, I try to like avoid spoilers at all, and then watch the Direct.
Yeah, that's exactly how I do it. I don't really care much for game trailers, but like for some reason those presentations are so hyped for me.
Yeah. But honestly, I know you were talking about Smash 4 and about how you didn't think it really had enough single player content. The thing is, it's like I agree, but I still managed to put like 80 hours into the Wii U version and then like another 60 into like the 3DS version.
Well, I'm sure I'll get back to playing it again at some time. It's with Brawl you have all the events you can do. There are no events in Smash 4. Yeah, that's the main reason I want to get the Wii U version. But then there's no Subspace Emissary mode, which I remember. I think people's opinions have kind of changed on this, but I do remember a lot of people hating the Subspace Emissary mode, or at least just disliking it.
Which I never understood, because I was like always... Even when I hear people say it's only worth playing through once, I'm like, I've played through that like a dozen times.
Right.
I think the general consensus is that the gameplay could have used a lot of improvements, but the cutscenes were godlike.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I still sometimes, like every now and then, like every couple of years, go back and replay Subspace Emissary. So,
yeah,
I personally
really
loved it.
Yeah, but the characters that I would want to see, honestly, I don't know if this is like a character that a lot of people want back, but one of my favorite characters from Brawl is Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him back, but Konami.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, It's like I've never played a Metal Gear Solid game before, so I don't have any connection to the character at all. It's just when we first got our Wii, we got it used from somebody who was actually he was like actually literally addicted to video gaming, and so he quit entirely and gave away all his video games, and he gave us his Wii, which included Smash Bros, and he had like everything unlocked. And so I just remember Snake was the first character I used because I thought it was weird to see a non-Nintendo character in Smash, and I know Sonic's in there, but he makes a little more sense than Snake does in Smash Bros.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be cool to see him back.
My cat has decided to join the podcast.
Okay.
So if my mic starts making sounds, or if you start hearing some meowing, that is why. Could be because Kimbra has now joined.
Okay. You can meow if you want to, and we wouldn't care. We're in a different room from my bird, so unfortunately he won't pick up.
Say your catchphrase. There you go.
Okay. One character that I've always thought would be interesting would be Paper Mario.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Because, Paper Mario, I think a lot of people would just think that it's just like basically just a skin swap of Mario, but Paper Mario is very different from regular Mario. He'd have his hammer and all that stuff. I think there could be a lot of interesting potential for that. I think it'd be cool. I know this wouldn't happen, but it'd be really cool if they did something where you know how there's characters in Smash 4 where like you can pick Zelda or change her into Sheik, or you can pick Samus, change into Zero Suit Samus. You can pick the Pokemon. There's 3 different Pokemon.
You mean Brawl?
Aren't they in Smash 4 where you can choose between the ones you use?
They got rid of that.
But you can't switch between them.
No, I don't mean switch while you're playing. I mean before you play.
Okay.
Like you swap. Like basically you switch instead of changing their palette, you change the character. I think it'd be interesting to see like a DK crew, basically like all the DK64 characters, where they're all as one character, but you can switch through them and they all have very similar moves or something like that.
I don't know, to be honest, I think I'd rather they were as separate characters and had different movesets.
Right, but that would use up all of my... That'd be a lot of different characters. I'm trying to just stick to like 3 or 4 different characters.
But yeah, now that you mentioned Sonic, I mean, it's obvious that Sonic's going to be coming back, because I think at this point, it's just obvious.
At this point, Sonic is like Nintendo's adopted kid. Or not even an adopted kid, he's like the neighbor kid who won't stop following him around.
And, but you brought Sonic up, and I remember... it's like, it's cool that Sonic's there, but I would also like to see maybe another Sonic character.
Like Shadow?
Yeah, sure, why not? But Knuckles...
what?
I was going to say Knuckles specifically, though, is probably a character I would want, like, the most. Like, memes aside, again, Knuckles would be cool to have.
Back to the whole palette swap, where instead of swapping palette swaps characters, they could do something like that with Shadow. Like, you could do different colors of Sonic, and then you could do Shadow, because they'd play basically identically anyway.
He'd probably just be like a clone character that plays slightly different.
He'd probably, his Smash move, or
Final Smash
move, I mean, would probably be like Chaos Control or something like that.
Or it would just be Super Shadow. They'd just get lazy.
Or he'd get a gun.
Yeah, yes.
That's good. I propose we move on to the next question, because if you get me talking about Smash Brothers, that will be the podcast.
Okay, we could have you back again sometime and just have a Smash podcast.
Oh boy.
That would be interesting.
Okay. Here's one from Care Epton, who asks, Do you see yourself still making YTPs in 10 years' time? And there is a similar question. It's not exactly the same, but I'll read it out here as well. We can kind of talk about both things. From Number 1, who asks, where do you see the state of YTP in 5 to 10 years?
All right, well, I'll start with Kier Epton's question. Thank you for that. Do you see yourself still making YTPs in 10 years' time? And I would say that I definitely see myself editing, and I see myself employing the things I've learned from the past 9 years of making YouTube Poops, without question. But as for whether I'm still using that format and still calling them YTPs, we'll see.
To be honest, I'm just gonna steal that answer because that's basically. I mean, really, it's like I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I didn't think I'd be making them for 5 years.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe I will be making them for 15 years.
I mean, for me, I don't have a life outside of YouTube poop, so yeah, I'll be making YouTube poops till I die. So unless I die in 5 years, then I won't be making them in 10 years, I guess.
As for the state of YouTube poop, I don't know.
I kind of think that YouTube poop as a video classification will more or less fizzle out. I don't think it'll completely ever die, at least as long as YouTube is around. But I think its title will become so vague that it won't be useful anymore. Like we're already kind of seeing the beginnings of that. I see the kind of editing tricks that were once unique to YouTube poop becoming so commonplace in mainstream video that there'd be no point in distinguishing YouTube poop from any other like crazily edited kind of video on the internet or anywhere else.
Yeah, not only that, but it's, a lot of people actually are just completely dropping YouTube poop or YTP out of the title and just giving it a title. So yeah, I could definitely see that happen. Another thing, I'm kind of curious to know if this will ever happen, but I kind of wonder if maybe if there'll ever be kind of like a divide in the YouTube poop community between like the people who make story-based YTPs and people who make more joke-based, off-the-wall type of YouTube poops. Kind of like how there's like a divide between YouTube poop and YTP MV. Like you almost don't even think of those as the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That'll be interesting. I definitely don't think that YouTube poop will die out like ever. I know we've talked about this on the show before, but I think that mindset has kind of died out in a sense that YouTube poop is a dying.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like died. I just think that the people who are most active have changed, and we got so used to there being like a core group of YouTube poopers, and a lot of them, myself included, have kind of started to do other things and become less and less active. So I mean, I don't think that it's died. I think it's just its populace has shifted.
No, I mean the people who used to say that YouTube poop is dying, I think that mindset has kind of died out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Don't see too many people anymore saying that YouTube poop is dead or that YouTube poop is dying or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely don't hear that as much anymore.
I never agree when I hear that because I'm just like, it wasn't that long ago that like there was almost no YouTube poopers that had 100K subs. Now we're at a point where multiple YouTube poopers have 100K subs, and I think to me that alone is just evidence that interest in it hasn't died.
Right. Yeah, and there's many YouTube poops now that have like over 1 million views, and that was never a thing before. And there's, this is another thing we've talked about before. It's your interest maybe has died out, but the YouTube poop as a whole is just getting stronger and stronger, just objectively speaking.
Whether or not the name sticks around, I think that YouTube poop itself will live on, even if it's not called YouTube poop.
Yeah, that's another interesting thought. Is what if YouTube just as a whole died out, and there was like another site that kind of took its place? I've often wondered if people would still call them YouTube poops or YTPs, or if they would change the name or whatever.
I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that poop does not stay its name. I am in favor of changing it.
What would you change it to?
I do not know yet.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the weirdest part about having to describe YTP to anybody who doesn't know what it is just the name itself, because if you don't know what it is, it sounds so weird.
Yeah.
But it's been more than a decade, so it's stuck.
Yeah. I wonder if I'm really trying to get YouTube fart to become a thing. I really hope that becomes a thing. But
how bad is it that I hope that doesn't become a thing?
I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, like it's really I guess more of the format that I'm hoping stays.
Sure.
Audio only YTPs. I mean, I didn't invent audio only YTPs, of course, but as long as there's poop, there will always be fart. That's what I'm hoping for.
I suppose that's sensible.
Okay, here's one from Crash Matilda. I think we got another similar question to this somewhere else, but this one specifically for you, which is, any ideas for future episodes of Look at This?
I appreciate that, Crash Matilda, who's very underrated, by the way. Crash Matilda should definitely have a bigger audience than he currently does. But I've got a handful of ideas floating around in my mind. I definitely want to make more, but I want the second episode of Look at This to sort of establish the scope of the show and the sources that I could potentially draw from. So, like, I don't necessarily want to do something from the late 90s, or viewers might think it's just for 90s stuff, or a piece of alternative Christian media, or they might think I only talk about Christian stuff, or, like, just music reviews, or, like, just things that reach into the so bad it's good territory. I don't want the show to be that kind of predictable, so I want to be sort of careful with what I choose to draw from for episode 2. But I've got a lot of ideas. I got a lot of things I can pull from.
Really looking forward to seeing that, because I thought the first episode was really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it went a lot better than I thought in terms of just like how it was received. I was kind of afraid to post it for a while because I was like, I don't know if it's going to be funny or interesting, or if like the fact that it's based on a piece of Christian media is going to cause more controversy than it's worth. But honestly, the reception's been really good, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm curious to know, how long did it take you to make that then? Because, I've been trying since last year to get into doing something like that. Last October I tried doing a movie review that kind of fell through, and I want to try to do that again this year.
Sure.
Which I'm assuming by the time I get it done, people will just think that I'm ripping off of you, but I guess that's fine.
That's exactly how I felt when, because I had started recording some episodes of the Let's Play channel that I did months in advance of CS188 starting to do Let's Plays and his live streams and stuff. So when he finally was like, hey, I'm going to start doing this now, I was like, oh man, now everyone's going to think I'm copying CS. But as far as how long that first episode took, well over 24 hours. I didn't really like time how long it took to do everything, but at least a couple for writing, and that's even knowing that I kind of knew where it was going ahead of time. A few hours for filming, which includes setup and teardown, and editing, of course, is the bulk of that time, and I put a lot more care into this than I would for a lot of other like YouTube Poop kind of projects. I really wanted it to come across the right way, and there's a lot more on screen that's moving and stuff, and so that is probably where it took more than 24 hours total to get everything together. But that was, of course, spread out over the course of several weeks, and then a few more later on when I decided to finally wrap it up. So it's definitely a time commitment to make something like that of that length. But it's, if you're passionate about it, then that time really does fly. Yeah.
So do you think, like, best case scenario, do you think this is going to be something that's going to become like a major ongoing series for you to do, or do you think it's going to be something that you kind of do like, 2 or 3 of them every year or something like that, or what exactly are your plans?
I mean, I don't really have a plan for it right now. I definitely want to do a couple more episodes and see how they go, see how they're received, and see if that's something that people are interested in once I kind of get into the groove of it. Optimistically, I'd like to be making those videos all the time, but I don't know if it's going to be lucrative for me, so we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on, let me just texted my mom. She just said I'm borrowing their van, and they said they need to come and get it, so I'm just making sure I don't have to go out and bring them the keys or whatever.
Sure.
All right, so here's one question from Chris Kogas. I'm sure most people are familiar with him many people I'm sure are familiar with him on YouTube. He's got over 100,000 subscribers.
Cool.
He says, Luke is awesome. Any thoughts on memes and music?
Chris is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite music meme is blue suede shoes.
It's what now? You kind of cut out just as you said it.
Oh, I'm sorry. My favorite meme in music is blue suede shoes.
Okay.
Just, the fact that song was recorded in the 50s and it's been referenced in music ever since then. It's kind of like a meme, sort of, maybe. I guess not really, since it didn't originate from the internet, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I'm not entirely sure what he means by that question. If he means...
Including internet memes in music is also cool. I'm okay with that.
I kind of interpreted it as like a YTPMV type thing, like the type of thing that he does, like his pizza time video, you know, where he did the Spider-Man 2 pizza theme with J. Jonah Jameson. That's kind of how I interpreted it.
I think the world needs more of those.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yes.
I would like to make more videos like that. I guess I've kind of tried my hand at it somewhat with that Rick and Morty one where I use Pickle Rick. But usually it's like when I make YTPMVs, they tend to just be like regular YTPMVs, but I really like those ones, like the meme ones. I don't know why, I just really like them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it before, but I know definitely for like YTPMVs, I kind of feel like they work best if it's like the source itself is interesting and like it's more than just remaking the music, like or how do I describe this? You know, I forget what program it is, but you know, somehow or sometimes YTPMVers will make a YTPMV and you literally can't even tell what the original source was if you weren't seeing it on screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot more entertaining when you can still tell what the source is.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I like most types of YTPMVs, but I do kind of agree with that. I'm not the type of person where it's like I only like this kind of YTPMV and all the other types are shit. It's like I like just about all of them, all the different types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the ones that don't sound like the original source. I just think they tend to be more entertaining if you can tell what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Next question then comes from the Master Poop, who asks, "You like jazz?"
I like the Master Poop. He's a cool dude. And
is he the jazz of YouTube poop then?
No comment.
Okay.
I don't like jazz on principle, but I can of course appreciate a good jazz track.
Mm-hmm. I'm more of a ragtime kind of person myself.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like ragtime is just more fun jazz. It's fun piano jazz.
Yeah, I like some good ragtime piano. A lot of the things from the Cuphead soundtrack really appeal to me.
Yeah. What about you, Logan? You didn't answer.
I don't know. I think haven't I mentioned this before? How it's like I think I can like just about every genre of music except country.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Like it's like the only genre where I have yet to find anything that I like.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it really depends on what country song. I think I've just mostly heard like the worst that the genre has to offer. I guess the really obnoxious stereotypical country, but that's not jazz. So
probably.
Thank you for the B movie joke, the Master Poop.
Okay.
Sorry, we're taking it super seriously and talking about jazz.
Well, I think that's more fun when you take the stupid questions seriously and the serious ones you just give a simple one-sentence answer.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next one. I know you saw this because it has 13 likes on it. I think that's the most likes any questions ever got for this. It's from Hour of Poop. It asks, "Do you lock your doors? You really should."
Yeah, I liked that one. I like Hour of Poop. Hour of Poop also really good videos. And I feel like I tend to be more trusting of strangers than most people are. I think 99% of people respect each other. Plus, if Postman Tap can break through my door anyway, why bother?
Yeah, that's true. I never used to lock my doors, honestly. I don't exactly know why, because I think the reason that I kind of started locking my door was because I really like true crime TV shows like Forensic Files and stuff like that. And like the way like 90% of the episodes always start out is with the narrator or with them interviewing someone, and they're talking about how it's such a weird thing to happen. A murder like this was such a weird thing to happen in such a quiet town. Everybody knows everybody. Nobody even locks their doors around here. And I'm like, I should start locking my doors.
Yeah.
I should lock my doors so I don't get fucking murdered.
Yes.
That was your mindset.
I only keep my apartment door locked because I sort of have this. I've always had this very welcoming policy but sometimes I'll have friends who will literally come over unannounced and just pop open the door if it's unlocked, and I'm not 100% okay with that because, you know, I live by myself. Sometimes I don't put on pants. Sometimes I'm having some me time. You know, I don't think that's cool. So I keep my door locked.
Yeah. Yeah, I think ever since I moved into my apartment, it just doesn't feel right to not have the door locked. I don't know. It's kind of like, I think this was something we talked about on another podcast as well, about how when I'm in a room, for some reason, I hate it when the door is open. Like, I have to have the door shut, even if I'm the only one at home. I don't know why. Yeah. I think it's the same thing with locking the door. Like, I don't like it when the door is unlocked.
I mean, I, like, always close the door of my room, even though I really don't have to.
Actually, wasn't it the last episode we were talking about that? Because we were telling stories about childhood stories and about how Mom was convinced that I was doing something wrong, even though I was playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I remember that. But I don't remember that time specifically. But I remember you telling me about that on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, it's funny. I'm kind of the opposite way when it comes to my doors. I like them to be open because then I feel like I get a better sense of what's going on in other parts of the house or apartment or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's why I like to have them closed, because I don't like to know what's going on. I like to be in my own world. I don't like other people.
I can respect that.
Yeah. Hate other people.
Exactly. Fuck you, Logan. Go die.
Fuck
Bye.
you.
Okay. Okay, next one comes from NP Carlson. Asks, is ketchup cool?
I love NP Carlson. Cool dude. I feel like refrigerating ketchup is nothing more than a noble sacrifice to keep it from going bad. But if you can eat something with warm ketchup, go for it, because you'll be surprised how much of a difference that can make.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's so much sugar in ketchup and whatever. Like, I know my grandma never used to refrigerate ketchup, and it would, like, never go bad. So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, since I live by myself, the ketchup can go unused for months, so it's probably better to keep it in the fridge.
Yeah. I was making... I'm kind of like that, where stuff goes unused for a long time. I was making burgers a couple weeks ago, and I went to get the mayonnaise, and it expired a year ago or something like that. So, all right.
So is ketchup cool then?
Yes,
totally.
Ketchup's cool.
Ketchup is very badass.
Okay.
Badass.
All right. This one's from Omar Beltran. I never know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he asks questions for like every episode.
Sure.
Asks, what are your thoughts on the new Sonic racing game that's coming out? And before I get into this, I should mention, I know I've mentioned this before, but I am not at all interested in Sonic. The only Sonic game I actually like is Sonic Adventure 2, so I kind of let you guys... I don't know how you feel about it, but I know Logan...
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of it, and I'm already not interested. And a racing game with Sonic is so Sega that it hurts. Sorry, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I'm interested because I've been hearing that it's potentially being developed by the same developers that made like the last couple Sonic racing games, which I haven't played, but from what I understand, it's like they're Mario Kart clones, but they're good Mario Kart clones. Like, they're a lot better than Sonic R.
Sure.
And
what if it's like a remake of Sonic R, like it's Sonic R reimagined?
Sonic R, but good?
Better than Sonic R, which wouldn't take much.
Yeah. I'm basically, I mean, we, other than like that reveal teaser, I don't think we've seen anything from it, so I don't really have much to say. I will say, it's like, even though I am a Sonic fan, generally the spin-offs don't really interest me. I'm more interested in the main series stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, honestly, there's been a few Sonic spin-offs that I really liked. I mean, I liked Sonic Spinball. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine was literally just Puyo Puyo, so of course it was good.
Yeah.
But honestly, those are like the only two spin-offs I can think of off the top of my head that I actually really liked. I mean, like, I like most of the main series Sonic games. Obviously, some of them I didn't like. Like, I didn't like Sonic 06, but I don't think anybody did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Forces very much.
But this is about the Sonic racing game. What are your thoughts on it?
See, that's just the thing, is there's like almost nothing we all like know like almost nothing about it, so there's like nothing I can really say about it. I'm interested in finding out about more. If it's like the last two Sonic Racing games, it'll probably be good. That's all I can really say.
Okay. Okay. Let me see here. Next question comes from DJ97. Asks, what YTPers inspire you?
Jimmy Davis, a guy that loves pooping, and literally no one else.
You have shit taste.
Oh man, you know your usuals, your Noise Puppet, CS188, Gabo-chan. I mean, a lot of them aren't really active anymore, but they still kind of inspired me to do what I do with the videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've mentioned before that, like, basically every YTPer that I watch and that I'm subscribed to, I would consider an inspiration to some degree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, my main inspiration before I started the holy trinity of inspiration for me was DaThings1, Hoffy1138, and Trudermark.
Mm.
And I think like my first handful of YouTube poops I think are basically just bad rip-offs of like the three of those styles, I guess.
I mean, I wouldn't, if you're doing something different with it, I would not call it a rip-off of a style, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
For me, like, I mean, like you said, basically everybody I watch is probably an inspiration to some degree. But for starting off, it was like, you know, Trudermark, DaThings1, Hoffy, Emp Lemon. I'm sure there were a Cartoon Lover was another one. I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting.
Yeah, if this was something where I like actually sat down and talked about every YouTube pooper I liked, we would be here all day and I would still forget some.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern whenever I'm talking about like favorites or inspirations or whatever, is that I'm going to forget somebody.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you forget like the most obvious people, and like those are the types of people you don't want to forget because you know you don't want to make them feel like that you don't really care about them or whatever.
Sure.
Okay, hang on, I'm not even sure what, I need to check out, this guy has a long username. Oh, okay, never mind, his app is much more readable. This is from Vor Cannibal. Says, hey kid, want a yiff?
Call me.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I'll try anything once. Yiffing is where you have sex in a furry suit, right?
I thought yiffing was where you masturbated to furry porn.
Maybe it's just furry sex.
I don't know.
We can have Vor Cannibal teach us. We'll all get together and he'll teach us.
He'll teach us exactly what yiffing is.
Okay.
The thing is, it's like I have a friend in like the YTP community who
That
also
you yiff with?
No, I was gonna say he also happens to be a YouTube pooper, or not YouTube pooper. He's a YouTube pooper. He also happens to be a furry, and I think he mentioned to me once what it means, and I think that's what it was. I don't know. If he's watching this, I don't correct me if I'm wrong. I know he like, cause like in Discord you can like, if you're in a server like you can have your own nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
His nickname in my server is Daily Yiffer.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly try to hide the fact that he's a furry.
I don't know of too many furries who do try to hide it.
Yeah.
Alright, this one's from Solomon Wyatt. Says, what do you think of the return of Waxinator, and how long do you think it'll last?
He came back.
He's been back for a while, but he hasn't made a lot in the past.
I don't think that Waxinator ever left. I think he just has his own pace.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we could get much out of that, but that was, I think I might as well ask it. I think we should be able to go through every question this time around. We're almost through the Twitter questions.
How long have we been recording?
I don't actually know. I'm usually at my computer so I can see.
Well, it's a little less than an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
That's what I was looking at. The Skype call says we've been in this for like 58 minutes. So
yeah. Here's one for you specifically from Shooting Films. Well, I guess this isn't a question, it's just a comment. It says, I would ask the things about what sauce he puts on his tacos, but I understand he doesn't like Taco Bell jokes.
It's a joke.
Yes.
I actually don't really like tacos that much. Sorry to disappoint.
Okay, I hate you now.
I'm very disappointed.
Yes.
Tacos. Honestly, 19 big fucking tacos sounds really good right now.
You didn't eat breakfast, so.
I didn't eat breakfast. That might have been
No
a
me
mistake.
gustan los tacos. Lo siento, mijo.
Should we go eat 19 big fucking
No.
tacos?
Okay. I was just waiting for you to say something and you just. Okay. Here's one from Colin Kenyon. I think I pronounced that right. Or Colin Kenyon, I don't know. Asks,
Sure.
what's your opinion on Internet Historian?
I haven't watched a whole lot of Internet Historian to say for sure, but I do love his voice.
I watched the video he did with Emp Lemon. That's the only one of his I've ever watched.
Yeah, I think I watched one other video from him like a year ago or something like that, and I don't know. Maybe I should check out his channel. I don't know for sure.
See, that's the thing though, is it's like I have no opinion because, I mean, the only thing I've watched was like a second channel video he did with Emp Lemon, so I don't even know what kind of content he makes.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know, maybe I'll like his content, maybe I don't. I don't know yet, I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll check him out at some point though.
Yeah, same.
All right, this one's from at Percy66_C. Says, what are some of the sources you want to do in the future?
I think we've already answered this, but...
Yeah, but we can always talk about other ideas we have or whatever. Or maybe just things we want to do.
I have been getting into anime in the last, 6 months, and so I kind of want to do a YouTube poop of an English dub of something that I've watched. But that's such a vague sort of idea that's not really even culminated in anything yet, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Did I mention this last time when we got this question asked? I said it's like, even though I'm not a clean YouTube pooper, I think it would be funny to take South Park and make a clean YTP out of it.
Yeah, you mentioned that, I think it was the episode with Lulu Loves Cats.
I think that was when we had it asked. I at that point I was still going through the series, so it was fresh on my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched it in a while because I got all caught up. So, but it's still a source I would like. Even if I didn't end up making it a clean YTP, just because I like South Park so much, I could probably make a YTP out of it.
Yeah.
Shrek. I wanted to use Shrek as a YTP source.
You didn't join the Shrek collab last year when Employment hosted it, did you?
No, because I don't think I don't remember why. I don't think I really didn't really have many ideas, and that was why.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I could probably do a Shrek YTP at some point. I would probably have to watch that collab and watch other Shrek YTPs, make sure I don't steal any jokes.
Well, I think at this point with something like Shrek, you almost inevitably end up stealing a joke. It'd take you forever to get through all the Shrek YTPs.
I've had it happen where I even accidentally steal jokes from YTPers that I really like, and from YTPs I've watched from them, and it's just been so long that I forgot that was from that YouTube poop. I just thought I came up with it.
Yeah, sometimes I'll think back on a joke that I made and then realize later oh shoot, someone else did this way before me, and it's not like I watched something later and realized that I had accidentally stolen a joke, but that I was inspired by one and didn't realize it.
Right.
But I'm trying to think of what other sources there are that I would want to use.
Well, I know that there is one thing, I don't want to say too much about it, but I'm working on an upcoming project. You two should know what I'm talking about without me saying too much about it, but...
I think I do. I'm giving you the little Star Trek nod.
Yeah. There is a source where I'm going to end up using a small portion of it, and having watched over the source again, I kind of want to do a full, long YouTube poop of the entire thing, so there's a lot of potential for jokes, but I don't know if I'll end up doing that. I could though. And I know. I think I know I've mentioned this before that I want to try to use more obscure sources, weird old commercials or old cartoons or just stuff that nobody would think to poop. You know, some of the most fun I've had making a YTP in like the past year was the Spongebob becomes a shameless sellout.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to make that one because there's just such a weird source to use, and I'd like to do more stuff like that.
Who was it that made that YTP of like all those 80s commercials? Was that Noise Puppet?
Oh no, yeah, that was his bag. He loved making YouTube poops of old commercials.
I forget what YouTube poop it was, but there's one YouTube poop. There was just like a bunch of 80s commercials, and still to this day in my head, I quote a certain line from it. It was like an ad for like a Star Wars cereal, and
the band plays on.
And C-3PO says, "We'll call them semen penises." I don't know why, but specifically that one quote just sticks out as being some of the funniest sentence making I've ever heard in a YTP.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could remember what the YouTube poop was. It probably wouldn't be very hard to find if I just like look up YTP 80s commercials.
And even if you don't find it, you'll probably find some good Noise Puppet ones along the way.
Yeah, I think it was Noise Puppet who made it. I'm not sure.
That does sound familiar. I'm pretty confident that that's who it is. But
okay, it's just you mentioned commercials, and I was just reminded of that. So
oh yeah,
I think he actually did a couple of them. That was just like YTPs of a bunch of 80s commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Really quickly before I move on, I pretty sure I mentioned this before, but the SpongeBob YTP that I did of all the commercials, that was like directly inspired by you had just uploaded your Zooks, or what did you call that one?
Yeah, Zooks.
Zooks, yeah, and that was very heavily inspired, like kind of the joke style, the editing style, I guess. Obviously not the exact same thing. It's still my own style,
yeah.
but
yeah, I wouldn't have put that together.
There was somebody who did, though. Somebody in the comments said, that it reminded them of your Zooks YTP. So I thought that was interesting that somebody was able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, next question comes from Line of Yellow 5. Asks, is there even too much sus?
I mean, the way I see it, everyone else just uses the sus that they need, and then I dish out the surplus that's left behind.
Okay. So there's... Yeah. Okay.
I don't really use sus jokes anymore.
Why? You're too good for it?
Yeah, I'm too good for it. No, I just don't really think they're... I mean, obviously they can be funny.
Don't say that around DaThings.
Okay.
You're gonna hurt my feelings.
I'm a fucking asshole.
We know that.
Oh.
Okay. What?
I just said I'm a fucking asshole, and he said, "Yeah, we know that."
Yeah, we know that.
Maybe at some point I should just make a video that's literally nothing but reverse jokes, and then post it and say something about how like it was a stress reliever for me to edit.
Yeah. What wasn't? Didn't Emp Lemon do? He uploaded. I think it was an April Fool's Day thing. He uploaded a Incredibles thing where all he did was he went through the entire movie and made every sus joke that could have been made.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
What was that? That was like when people were asking make Uncredibles 3.
That was like either right before or right after his downward spiral began.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even
God bless
then,
the downward spiral. God bless the downward spiral.
Yes. Even then, though, just doing as many sus jokes as possible in an entire movie, that's got to be a lot of work doing that.
I'm sure that took a long time.
Okay, here's a question from Sir Shorty the Tall. Asks, would you rather be stuck making a YTP of a source you don't like, or use any source you do like, but you have to use Windows Movie Maker as your editor?
The first one, because fuck Movie Maker.
Well, I think it depends on how you interpret the question. I don't know if he means you don't like the source or you don't like using the source, because that makes a completely different situation.
Still the first one, because fuck Movie Maker.
Well, I mean, my first 2 years of YouTube poop were exactly that latter situation. I used sources I liked, but all I had was Movie Maker.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I would probably choose to put up with a less favorable source because there's more potential for experimentation, and maybe in the process of making it, my opinion on it might change.
Yeah.
There are some sources that lend themselves to simple editing, so Movie Maker might suffice for those, but in general, I'd rather put up with a source that I'm hesitant on with a better editor.
Yeah, I mean, Movie Maker, every time, like, I know I made, like, some of my early ones, I used Movie Maker, not any of them that are on my channel, because, like I said, I actually was making YouTube Poops a year before I made my YTP channel, but, every time I go back to use it, which is almost never, it's just like, how did I put up with this? This is fucking garbage.
You know, I still want to use that idea I had of doing like a YTP collab challenge thing where it's like you can do whatever you want, but you have to use Windows Movie Maker as your video editor.
Oh boy.
Because I've done a couple Movie Maker YTPs. Actually, I think I've only done 2 so far. Like my previous April Fool's Day one did like a Hotel Mario thing in Movie Maker, and it's obviously like I was going for something like very amateur and whatever, so I wasn't really trying to make it good, but I think it was fun to make that, and I think it could be interesting to see a whole collab.
Yeah, there's sort of a pleasant irony to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, definitely I would rather use a source I don't like and be able to use Vegas than have to use Movie Maker ever again.
I think I'm going to have to go with the Movie Maker answer, honestly. Because, like I said, it depends on how you interpret the question. Because if the question is, if they mean, like, you don't like using the source, then definitely Movie Maker. If it's just, like, a source you don't like a movie or a TV show you don't like, I'd go with that. Because, you know, I'm pretty sure I've done YTPs using sources I don't like, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But I've made YouTube poops where I didn't have fun using the source, and that's not any fun to do. I'd rather do a Movie Maker YTP.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, next question comes from I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Gubriel or something like that.
Sure, Gubriel.
Yeah, Gubriel asks, "Do you like Pingy?"
I actually I looked this up because I wanted to make sure I knew what that was, but a few different things popped up, so I don't know if it's a reference to something or what. But my understanding. Go ahead.
I just assumed it was a weird way of saying penis.
I mean, no comment there. But I actually found a Macintosh application that uses that name the way it's spelled with the 2 G's that shows you all of the devices that are connected to your network. And I imagine that would probably be pretty useful, but I don't have a Macintosh, so I've never used it.
Okay. But do you like penis?
Again, no comment.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this, and I realized, you know, every man, gay or straight, likes penis.
What?
If you are a man, you like your penis, because if you didn't like it, you'd remove it. So every man, whether you're gay or straight, technically does like at least one penis. So
I actually unironically like penis.
anyway, let's move on. Anyway,
Okay,
here's a hard one from Dark Sparkish. Just asks, sus.
No.
Sauce tastes good.
It's S-U-S, not sauce.
Sauce tastes good. It tastes good on my wiener.
What the fuck?
I don't know why I just said that. Probably just because we were just talking about dicks.
Okay, anyway, let's move on. This one comes from Osip Vayner. I don't know how to pronounce that. Asks, what types of music do you like to listen to?
I like music on a song-by-song basis, because even the artists and genres that I like have tracks that really miss the mark for me. But I guess I'm always a sucker for a good funk track.
Okay. For me, I've mentioned this before, and I'll stick with it. I like ska.
Sure.
I mostly, like, I think I mentioned this last time, I mostly just listen to video game soundtracks. Mm-hmm. Specifically, I really like the stuff by Jake Kaufman.
I thought you were going to say Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. No, Jake Kaufman. Like, he did, like, he does, like, almost all the soundtracks for Way Forward's games.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get the feeling, it's like, I think that might be why I like Way Forward so much, is mostly just because of the music. I mean, like, the games themselves obviously are good, but it's like, I'm not talking about their licensed games. Their licensed games can be hit or miss.
Yeah.
But, like, I think there's the ones that they self-publish are generally usually really good.
Okay.
And, but, like, Jake Kaufman does really good stuff. Obviously, I like this stuff by, like, Koji Kondo. I feel like everybody that likes video game music likes Koji Kondo's stuff.
I know the name, I just can't think of who that is.
Are you fucking serious?
I'm not into video game music like you are, Logan. That's like your fetish. Who is... I know... Isn't it...
He does, like, a shit ton of Nintendo soundtracks.
That's what I thought. That's why I guess...
Darren Korb. Darren Korb, the composer, performer for Supergiant games. Probably my favorite video game music composer, writer.
Oh, and Grant Kirkhope. I forgot Grant Kirkhope.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of expand a little bit on my my answer, I guess I kind of go more with like what you said, like a song by song basis. Like there are very few bands that if any, that I listen to. Like I've been in conversation with people before, and they'll be like, what's your favorite band? And like the only thing that comes to mind is Weird Al. And
I guess that's another thing outside of video game music. Like I recently started listening to Gorillaz.
Okay.
I really like their stuff, but honestly, like that's like almost all I listen to outside of video game music and Weird Al.
Yeah. I tend to really like the what would you call those songs? Like the songs that are really popular for like a short period of time, and then people just start to hate them and want to forget them. Stuff like, or like meme song type things like I'm Blue by Eiffel 65 or Scatman by Scatman John. I think that's his name, Scatman John.
I don't know. We Are Number One.
Man, that one's okay. But yeah, I like very weird, very diverse music, I guess. And I'm also, when I listen to music, this is very, very weird. I understand most people would think this is completely insane, but I'm one of those people who will listen to like the 10-hour versions of songs on YouTube. Like when I'm at work, I'll listen to the 10-hour version of a song that I like, and I'll listen to it for like 3 or 4 hours straight and not get sick of it. But then I eventually do get sick of it, and then I find another song that I like better. So
Sure.
I guess I should also mention, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, another thing I listen to is like I listen to stuff like by Pogo, Shetrio.
Oh yeah, I love Pogo.
Yeah, remix type music.
I've been listening to Shetrio a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's mostly known for his Rick and Morty remixes, but I've honestly I've been subscribed to him since before even his first Rick and Morty remix.
Yeah, me too.
And
I was subscribed to him when it was like his big thing was the Lord of the Rings remixes.
Yeah, I think that that was like kind of what started to get him popular, but the Rick and Morty remixes were definitely what got him to where he was, or where he is now.
But like those types of remixes, or like Shmo Yoho, like that type of YTP MVs is another thing I tend to listen to.
Oh yeah, YTP MVs, of course. I guess there's more. I listened to more than just video game music, and I just didn't really think about it.
But like, if you were to show me like a list of like the top 50 most popular songs from this year or whatever, I probably wouldn't have listened to any of them.
Yeah, honestly, probably the same.
And it's not like a hipster thing. Like I'm too cool for that. It's just I don't know. I like stupid shit more than popular stuff, I guess.
Unfortunately, I have to listen to top radio sometimes, or top 40 radio sometimes at work, so I end up hearing them anyway.
That's one of the things that I really like about my job as a janitor, is the fact that I can bring my phone with me and listen to stuff on YouTube and stuff while I'm at work. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why I have YouTube Red, is so I can, I can download stuff. Like if I run out of data on my phone, there's no internet connection. I clean 2 different buildings, and one of them doesn't have internet connection. So with YouTube Red, I can like download videos and listen to them while I'm at work and cleaning that building. And when I'm cleaning the other building, I can still use YouTube Red, because you can be listening to something and then turn off your phone screen. So
yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, I don't have to bother listening to the whatever music they're playing through the sound system at work.
Yeah, I missed that. At my old job, I was able to listen to like podcasts and audiobooks if I wanted to, but those days are long gone.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try to get a new job. You know, I've been working this job I'm at right now for a little over 6 years now. It's the only full-time job I've ever had, and I really, and it's really starting to wear down on me. But that's one of the things that I keep thinking of is, you know, if I get another job, I might not be able to listen to music and podcasts and stuff while I'm at work, and I don't know if I'd want that then.
Also, imagine if it was, because you've already gotten so used to your weird sleep schedule.
I could get a night graveyard shift job.
I mean, I guess also at the same time, you weren't used to this sleep schedule when you first got this job either, so.
I've never been a morning person. I've always preferred being up at night, so.
Yeah.
Every job's going to have its ups and downs. It's just a matter of whether they're paying you enough for it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know I only just recently found out you can actually, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows this at this point, but you can Google jobs in and then type in whatever city or town or whatever you want to, and you can find job listings just right on Google. And there's a couple of interesting looking ones, like I guess they're hiring like a UPS driver where in my town, and that's something that would be interesting to try just to say I did it, but I don't know if I'd actually like it. So
you probably wouldn't. I just imagine. I can't imagine that would be a very fun job.
No. Well, how do you know?
I mean, I guess I can't say for sure.
I've spent the last 6 years, actually technically 7 years, because I worked another maintenance job before this job, but I've spent the last 7 years of my life cleaning toilets and scrubbing floors and stuff like that. I think I've kind of gotten as low as you can go in terms of jobs.
See, to be honest, whenever I have to do like cleaning stuff at work, like cleaning bathrooms and stuff, I don't know. I don't really mind it, honestly.
What was the question for this?
I don't even remember.
Oh, it was what
types of music you listen to.
Yeah.
How do we go from music to cleaning toilets?
I don't know. Everything's gone to shit.
Anyway, next question.
Are there any comments from YouTube?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to switch over to YouTube. There's one more Twitter question from Jowlerbo. I think we'll save that for the end, because the last few podcasts I've noticed we've kind of get to the end and we think there's more questions, and we got to the end of the good questions, so we're kind of left with an awkward ending. So I think the question from Jollerbo is a good question that I think I'll save for the last one before we end off the podcast. So
all right, fair enough.
Now we'll move on to YouTube. This one is from One Sonic that's One Sonic THE. Says, conversation topic. Talk about the overuse of sauce jokes, which leads to the overuse of anti-sauce jokes, which is now leading to the inevitable overutilization of anti-sauce jokes.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So, at one point, Stuart K. Riley made this video where he talked about mainstream YouTube poopers, and a couple of the names he dropped were myself and CS188. And I think in like it was either in that video or maybe in a different one where he talked about how like I made a bunch of sauce jokes and now everyone's just making videos that are nothing but sauce jokes and it's so overused now. And I 100% agree that like I am to blame for a lot of that, because obviously I didn't create it, but like I did it so much and enough people found it funny that like I feel like it's kind of used and abused. At least it was for a while. And now it's sort of like everyone's kind of aware of that and they're shying away from it. And, you know, like I love that there are anti-sauce jokes and anti-sauce jokes. And now it's reached the point where like, I don't even feel bad about it anymore. I will just make however many I want and I will call it a day. And if they're not funny, I'll take them out of the video before I upload it. And if they are funny, then I'll keep them. And sometimes I'll keep them even if they're not funny, just because I want them to be there as a sort of like middle finger to everybody who's like, don't make sauce jokes. It's like every opinion under the sun about sauce jokes has been had already. So there's a sort of like irony to them now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying about sauce jokes earlier, I think that they're fine in moderation. I definitely... I mean, I'm going to be honest, the reason why I used them so much early on was just because I'm like, well, DaThings1 did it, DaThings1's funny.
Okay.
I think
yeah, see, that's the problem. You are the problem for thinking that I'm funny.
Oh.
it's his secret sauce.
Oh,
I've got a bottle of a literal bottle of different Asian sauces mixed together in my fridge that has a drawing of Mr. Krabs that says secret formula on it.
But yeah, I think sauce. Honestly, it seems like it's one of those things where I feel like it's sort of like what Spadinner was. Spadinner jokes were like early on, or not like early on, but like, you know, like new poopers would overuse Spadinner jokes, and I feel like it's kind of the same thing now, except with sauce.
There's not as much variety with sauce, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And but like I said, I think sauce jokes are fine every now and then. When I first discovered sauce jokes, like I thought it was the funniest shit ever, obviously, because I made an entire video that was like 90% sauce jokes early on.
Yeah.
To be fair, that was for a collab. Like it was like the So Much Sauce collab. The collab that it never happened because I think I later asked why that collab never happened, and he responded with, because you were the only person who made an entry.
So it is the collab then. Your video is the collab.
And then he made his entry. That was.
I remember when I first started making YTPs, I really didn't like sauce jokes. That was kind of a thing, was anti-sauce jokes in my earlier YTPs. And actually, if you pay attention, like anytime in my YTPs I have a character talking about sauce jokes, it's never, like I don't forward reverse sauce, I actually sentence mix them to say sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's actually...
Was that because you hated it, you thought it was lazy?
No, it's just because I wanted it to be slightly different. Like, the end of, which one was that? This poop's true title is too long for YouTube. When Larry is making sauce jokes and Bob says, you know how I feel about sauce jokes. That was what wasn't forward reversed for Bob. It was sentence mixed. It was forward reversed for Larry though.
Yeah, I think it's great because it's like after a point you start to expect that word to always be a palindrome, and then when it's not, like that's kind of funny in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of forget how much of a hate boner you had for sauce jokes early on.
It wasn't. It was more ironic hate. Like I thought it was. I do still find it annoying. I mean, it's not used quite so much anymore. But you know how there was like a time period where like anytime there was like a beginner YTPer, and like they were didn't have anything to do, didn't have any jokes to do for a conversation. Like whenever someone would say something start with an S, they would just forward reverse it just because.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which actually, really quick, I do want to ask you what's your opinion on this? Is a sauce joke, is that just a forward reverse joke like with cock or Josh? Would that be a sauce joke, or is that its own thing? Because
I consider those to be sauce jokes, specifically SUS. If it's an SAUCE joke, then it's one that pertains to the condiment.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, because I've always considered just like any forward reverse thing to be a sauce joke, but I wasn't sure if that was.
Honestly, I always just I considered sauce jokes specifically like sus, sauce, cease, sis, that stuff.
Oh,
you know,
sure,
like
sure.
Everything else I always just called forward reverse jokes, like
Yeah.
cock and judge.
Well, yeah, I guess forward reverse though, I think kind of typically implies there's a little bit more to it, like a sentence is forward and reverse or something like that, more so than just like a little
Like
fraction of a word.
Like who and whenever.
What?
Oh, I think that I just like when there's a little more to it than just like the first part of the word.
Mm-hmm.
That's specifically what I just said was from one of my YTPs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which one. I can't remember.
Noodles.
I think it was it Reggie that I made say who been a winavoo? Was that might have even been from an unfinished YTP.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I sometimes I forget which YTPs I actually finished and uploaded and which ones were just abandoned.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But you get the idea though.
Yeah. Anyway, we should move on to the next one then. From Wide-Eyed Wise Guy asks, have you ever seen a YTP that's so bad that it ends up being good?
Yes, I think
Of
everybody
course.
has.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back and watching stuff from like 2009, 2010, specifically, like watching those ones now, they've kind of reached this point where they're so bad, but that kind of is the charm.
Exactly. That's one thing I've noticed is it, like especially Spadinner era. It seems like when you watch, like basically any YTP from the Spadinner era, whether it's unironically good or not, it still ends up being enjoyable just for how terrible it is. Or like the infamously terrible YouTube poops like YTP Tennis Round 3 or Spyro the Pingus, or those types of...
I was actually going to say Spyro the Pingus is one of my favorite YTPs of all time just because it's so shit.
Yeah. Here's the thing about that, though. I was thinking about that and realized, that the point of a YTP, usually anyway, the point of a YTP is to make you laugh, right?
Yeah.
So if it makes you laugh because of how bad it is, it's actually good, isn't it? Because it made you laugh.
I guess if you look at it that way. But you're laughing at it for the wrong reasons.
So?
I don't remember who it was, but I watched a one-off video from this guy who was doing these movie reviews, and his rating scale isn't from 1 to 10, it's from -10 to 10. So if something is a 0, then it's like bland or boring or unremarkable and not really worth watching. And then if it's like a -10, it's like, oh my god, this is so awful, you have to see it, it's amazing. I liked that way of rating things.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I swear I've seen that somewhere, and yeah, that's I think a good way of looking at it.
Well, who was it that made that?
I don't know.
I wish I could remember. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be interested in checking them out if you could remember, but oh well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I kind of feel like like I said, the Spadinner era. I feel like even bad ones are entertaining from that era. That could just be because of the time period they're from, I guess. Because if you look at like a bad YouTube poop from like 2012 or 2013 or whatever, there's some really bad ones that aren't entertaining in the slightest. So, I don't know.
Some of the worst YouTube poops are the ones where there's just like not much editing, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
yeah. I could agree there.
I think that's the biggest offender, is when there's just like long periods of unedited stuff that builds up to nothing.
Yeah, because if it's... Well, it's kind of like speaking in movie terms, it'd be kind of like watching a movie where like there's long scenes where the camera's just in one spot and there's like no movement, no special effects or anything, versus something where they're constantly trying new special effects that are just shit and stuff like that. Like that one's obviously going to be the more entertaining one. I think that's kind of the same thing with YTPs. Okay, here's another question from Chris Kogas. Asks, a mammoth?
A mammoth? Which one was that from? Which one was that from again? That was...
the Barack Obama one.
That's right.
That one, for the longest time, that was my favorite YTP from you.
I still say a mammoth sometimes.
I mean, I don't remember the very first video that I made a mammoth joke in. It just seemed so easy because... like, it's sort of half of the palindrome is already done for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. It sounded funny, and I did it once, and then I made that sort of a running joke for a little bit there.
Okay, yeah. Now that you mentioned it, I guess that is right. I've seen it more. I just when I saw that, I just immediately thought of your Barack Obama YTP.
Yeah, see, and I thought of Wow, It's Made, but I don't remember which one came first.
Pretty sure it was the Obama one was the first one.
Might have been.
I think so. I think that came before Wow, It's Made.
But yeah, that one, like I said, for the longest time, that was my favorite YTP from you. I think it might be the second, I guess, second most quotable YTP from you, next to, well, maybe not quite second. It's up there though, still up there.
I would say so. It certainly is one that my real life friends reference a lot more than some of the others.
Yeah. Okay, here's one from Dingo Dongo. Asks, why is Gamora? Or
what?
Can't go.
That's a pretty good Infinity War joke. Do you make it yourself? Did you come up with that on your own? I own a pop figure of Gamora as she appears in the Telltale Games series because I thought it was so strange that they made that into a pop figure and didn't make like really anybody else from the Telltale games into a pop figure. I just kind of... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if that one was any good, that game.
I only played through the first 3 episodes, so I don't know how it ends and how it wraps up, but it's really, the characterization is really strong. They definitely pull a lot from the movies to make the characters just as funny and interesting as they are there. So I think that at least in that department, it's great.
I was interested in checking it out because it's I really liked the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so I don't know.
You'll get some similar vibes, I think.
I might check it out sometime.
Before we move on to the next question, because of that Infinity War reference, that just reminded me. Me and Logan went to see the movie last Tuesday, and this was the first time I think this has happened before. Where we don't go to the theater a whole lot, and usually when we do, we're close to 2 smaller towns, and there's not usually a ton of people in theater when we're there. But this particular time, there was 1 or 2 rows behind us. There was this group of 3 older ladies, and I don't know how old they were, but I swear one of them had white hair, and the other 2 had gray hair. But they literally laughed out loud at every single thing that was supposed to be even remotely funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a bit distracting.
Hey, at least they were enjoying themselves.
Right, that was one of the things I thought about, because at first I thought it was kind of annoying, but then I realized, what, I shouldn't be upset because somebody is enjoying something the way it's meant to be enjoyed.
It was a little bit annoying, but I was still able to enjoy the movie, so
yeah,
whatever.
You kind of talked on this, talked about this a little bit, but could ask this anyway, just so they know I asked it. This is from Stephen Majorana. Asks, is Look at This going to be just music reviews, or are you planning to branch out in the future?
Oh, definitely more than just music reviews. I put the email address in the video because I was expecting maybe some people would try to message me there. I mean, of course, it's going to mostly be YouTube comments, and I knew that going in, but I put the email address there in case anyone had a more serious bit of feedback or something longer they wanted to post, and I have gotten a grand total of 1 email, and this person wants me to review a music thing, so I might do that eventually, but for the most part, I want it to be something where I can talk about whatever, be it a video game, a TV show, or a single YouTube video or something like that.
Okay.
So that's all I've got to say about it.
Okay. Any potentially hints at what that thing was, or are you going to kind of keep it a secret?
No comment.
Okay. Let me see here. Here's one from Lil Pinko. Asks.
Oh, Lil Pinko.
Asks, what do you think about Empty Lemon's downward spiral and content in general?
Empty Lemon.
Yes.
That's funny. I like that he's trying some new things, and he's not just I'm glad he's not forcing himself to make YouTube poops like he doesn't want to, because I know that a lot of his fans would rather he just do that.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool guy. I'm supporting him on Patreon, so I like him enough to give him a little bit of money. I don't agree with everything he has to say on every single topic, but I don't agree with anyone on everything they have to say on every single topic. I'm glad he's doing something that he finds interesting and fun, and I'm still watching the videos, so more power to him.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like you said, it's definitely great that he's not forcing himself to do what his subscribers want him to do just because they're demanding it from him. And I think it's really interesting to see, really cool to see how he was. I guess I wouldn't necessarily say he was going downhill at the time before his downward spiral began, but it seemed like he wasn't quite at his peak of popularity. Like he had kind of peaked already, and then it was interesting to kind of see him turn around and start branching out, doing new stuff, and then kind of shooting back up in popularity again.
Yeah. What's he at now? Almost over 200K now, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I know he passed CS188 as in subscribers.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, that was a while ago. But yeah, I mean, again, also like you said, I don't agree with everything he says. I do have some issues here and there with some of the stuff he says or how he chooses to get it out or whatever. But I don't really say anything, mostly just because I know that, you know, he has a lot of people already telling that stuff, but also his fan base scares the shit out of me, so I don't want to piss him off.
Fair.
I think the thing is, it's like, I think some of my favorite stuff from him is like the Pixar era stuff, but it's like, I understand he doesn't want to do that anymore. He doesn't like doing it anymore, so he shouldn't force himself to do it anymore. And it's like, I still like the new content. I still like the meme videos, the rant videos.
Yeah, he's one of his series that I didn't expect to like at first, that I ended up really liking, was his what does he call them now? The minute meme reviews or whatever?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Like I at first, at first I thought it seemed a little gimmicky and like you probably couldn't get much out of it, but I think it's actually really entertaining and informative, and I always watch him when he uploads those. I think the only videos from him that I've skipped so far are some of his YouTube rants that he kind of did like at the end of the year, beginning of the year, whatever. Because I don't know. I don't know.
I watched those. I don't think I've skipped. I might have skipped a couple videos, but I think I've for the most part I've continued to watch his content. And even though I prefer like the some of his older content, it's like, like I said, he doesn't want to make that type of stuff anymore. He shouldn't make that type of stuff anymore, because ultimately, I mean, obviously, I think that there's a certain balance, you know, giving your subscribers what you want and doing what you want, but
right.
Ultimately, I think enjoying yourself on YouTube is more important than trying to please all of your subscribers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the outlier because I didn't really watch hardly any of his YouTube poops from before the spiral. Like I think I watched The Uncredibles, and that was kind of it. And it wasn't until like that, like he started switching things up, that like he caught my attention, and I sort of retroactively was like, oh yeah, this guy was a YouTube pooper, wasn't he? What is he doing now? So, you know.
And
I don't have anything to say about like old content versus new, because I really just have the new to work with, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he hasn't like dropped YouTube poop completely.
Yeah, he still makes them from time to time.
Yeah, and like he doesn't consider himself to be like an ex-YTP or anything like that. He still considers himself a YTP, or just he does more than just YTPs.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, there's a little Pinko asked 3 different questions. Next one we kind of already covered, so we won't talk about that. It's just favorite genre / era of music. We kind of, like I said, talk about that. Then they ask also best era of YTP.
Oh boy.
Don't ask me that. That's too hard.
I was thinking about this before, and I realized I don't know if I could say best era, but I can say worst era. In my opinion, would be like the post Spadinner, like around 2011 or 2012, like kind of where people were like at the peak of hating Spadinner, and like I'm not saying there was nothing good coming out of that time, but it doesn't have the charm of like the Spadinner era, or the or the polish of like the more modern YTPs.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel like around 2011 to 2012 is where I experienced like a lot of my initial growth in my YouTube channel, and yet those videos are the ones that I kind of look back on the least fondly. You know, I'm like, oh man, what was I thinking?
Yeah, because I think that was, like I said, that was kind of right after, like right around the time where people were really cracking down on hating Spadinner. Like I like when I first started in, I started I guess in late 2014, but I was kind of getting into YouTube poop around 2013, and I can remember seeing a lot of collab announcements, or like one of the big rules was no Spadinner, and that was a thing for a while, and
no Spadinner, no ponies, no ear rape.
Yes. Yeah. The more restrictions you add, the less interesting they are. And I think that was kind of during a time where people were really, really cracking down on what they wouldn't allow in their YTPs. And yeah, like I said, it just didn't like we mentioned before with the Spadinner era, about how even the bad ones are entertaining because of their charm. There's just something about it. But
yeah, that was back when YouTube poop was in middle school.
What was that? You cut out a little bit there.
I like to think of that as puberty. That's just when YouTube poop was in middle school, so we kind of ignore that.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
I I don't know if my opinion on best era is controversial or not, but I'm going to be completely honest. I think currently at the moment, the modern era is probably what I would consider the best.
I would too, because I feel like I think a lot of people tend to I mean, we also kind of talked about this a little bit before about people saying that YouTube poop was dead or dying or whatever. I think it's kind of people kind of unfairly look at modern YTPs unfairly because they don't have all the buildup of all the previous years of YTPs. Like when you think about classic YTPs, I think a lot of people tend to just look at like the past 10 years of YTP and like there's so many good YouTube poops to choose from. But then when you look at like the ones from the past year or two, there's not anywhere near as many. So I think that's kind of why people tend to think that
I guess
it's declining or whatever. But I do definitely think that there's just a ton of really great YouTube poopers out there, a ton of really good variety of YouTube poops.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could be watching a trippy YTP and then watch a glitch YTP and then a story YTP. And it's like I enjoy like most genres of YTP. Like I like to watch trippy ones. I think I've mentioned I really like glitch YTPs. I don't know why some people don't really like them.
My issue with the glitchy, trippy YTPs are just the fact that it's kind of like once you've seen one, you kind of feel like you've seen them all. Maybe not entirely.
I don't agree with that, honestly.
Yeah, but I'm like if you're watching like a YTP collab where there's like a ton of them right in a row, they kind of all blend together, and it's just like there's some people like Dmitry Petrov who can make trippy, glitchy YTPs, but it still has jokes and interesting editing and stuff. When it's all just like the glitchy, trippy looking effects, I think that's I don't know.
I was separating glitchy and trippy.
How would you define the two?
Trippy would be more like effects heavy. Like I tend to like think of stuff like like there's like the effects heavy stuff with like the Vaporwave in the background. Whereas glitchy, I think of stuff like I forget what it's called. I know I've used this editing technique sometimes where you just take a section, cut it into frames, and then just scramble the frames.
Random chopping.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
I love doing that.
And stuff like that, or like
that's
or like really short stutter loops where it's like a buzzing sound, stuff like that. That's what I think of when I think of like glitch YTP.
Random chopping. That's one thing, poopism that I honestly didn't know how to do until just like a year ago. If it was even then, I think it might have even been more recent than that. It was one of the things that I always enjoyed seeing in YTPs, and I just never learned how to do. I never bothered looking up how to do it or whatever because I didn't know what it was called or anything like that. I think I tried doing it once or twice in some of my earlier YTPs where it was kind of similar, I guess, where I would just kind of like speed up the footage and then just like cut out chunks and rearrange them, but it wasn't like frames.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, it's like it's an editing technique where it's like I didn't know how to do it at first either, but then when I was shown how, I'm like, oh wow, this is really easy.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I guess we can move on from that. Kind of answer that. Here's one from Game & Watcher 96 asks, what's the best thing you've ever seen, done, or eaten?
Yeah, it's a pretty solid Homestar Runner reference there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I remembered what the actual answer was.
Yeah, I was just looking at that, trying to remember what Spee mail that was from and what his response was, and I couldn't remember what it was. I think it was Limousine, but they're in space. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I think that's the best thing he's seen, done, or eaten.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that now.
Oh man.
Okay.
That's such a tough question to answer for real. But I will go ahead and say that my least favorite thing to see, do, or eat is fade outs. At the end of a song, when they're just like, we're just gonna not write a conclusion and have the song fade into silence. I hate that. It bothers me so much. In fact, I have a few tracks in my library that I've gone through and edited in some way to just make it not fade out anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'll add an echo to it, or I'll like take part of the intro and have that play at the end or something, or just like I'll do something to it so that it doesn't fade out because it bothers me that much.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought about making a little YouTube channel where all I do is take songs and just edit their conclusions so they don't fade out.
Yeah. Yeah, the Final Countdown, the song "The Final Countdown" by Europe. You know, if you listen to like the album version of it, like it has a fade out. But if you listen to like the version they use in like the music video, which is slightly different for some reason, it has a different conclusion where it kind of echoes at the end, like it cuts and echoes, and it's a much better ending in the music video version.
I need to find that because the Final Countdown by Europe is in my music library, and now I can make it not fade out.
Okay. What about you, Logan?
Really...
What's the best thing you've ever seen, done, or eaten?
Best thing I've seen is titty.
Okay.
Best thing I've done is your mom.
Okay.
Best thing I've eaten is pussy.
Okay.
I do not believe any of those.
No, I don't either. Also, my mom is your mom.
Not your mom.
You said your mom.
Oh boy, Freudian slip.
Yes. Okay.
It was a joke answer anyway.
Okay. Next one from, I know this YouTuber, I don't know for sure how to pronounce her name. Jalissa Weshen? I've never tried to pronounce it. I have no clue. She's collabed with Schaeferless Productions.
Okay.
But she has two questions. Question one, we already kind of talked about this, so I'll just read it off. It asks, is Sauce dead? And we
Nah, ain't dead.
Nah. And then question number two, she says, I'm sure this has been asked before, but do you have any tips for beginners trying to improve at YTP?
Keep making stuff. Don't stop making stuff. And upload what you make, even if you think it's garbage, even if you think it's not very good. Just put it out there and show it to some friends. Even if they're friends who wouldn't get it, still, just like show it to them, get some impressions, get some ideas, and just keep at it. Because you won't improve if you don't keep practicing. Yes, you know, there's somebody who I won't name who it was, but like they joined they've joined two or three of the collabs that I've hosted. I think at least two, but they would just email their entries to me, and then like you know, I would ask them after the collab was up, you know, if they could send me the link to their entry so I can put it to the playlist of all the entries, and they'd say, no, I'm gonna wait to start uploading until I get good enough to make good YouTube poops or whatever. And I try to convince them that, you know, you're not gonna improve if you don't get any feedback. And so yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this. I know I've mentioned this before in other podcasts, but I think that the best advice I can give for trying to improve, I guess you could really say this about anything, but for YTP, the best way I can think to improve is just do what you want to do and not what you think other people are going to want to do. And then if you don't focus on trying to improve and you just focus on enjoying what you're doing, you will improve over time. Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I first started, I was just shitting out videos. I was having fun with them, but I look back on those videos and I'm like, these are terrible. But like I would sometimes, I think when I first started, like there was like a few days in a row where I uploaded a new video each day, and I was literally making those videos in that day, each day. Yeah. And it's like, I still sometimes make YTPs in one sitting. Right. Occasionally, but it's like, I just made YTPs in one sitting when I first started, because I was having fun with them, but, you know, obviously I was just getting started. I mean, I think at that point I'd been doing it for about a year, but hadn't been doing it in Vegas for a year yet, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. I guess another bit of advice I could give is just experiment with different things, like even things that you think you might not enjoy, editing styles and jokes and stuff like that you think you might not enjoy. If you just experiment with it, you might actually find out that you really like doing that.
There is more to the world than Michael Rosen.
Yes.
I've actually never done a full Michael Rosen YTP. I think I've only ever used like a couple references. Yeah. Like, I mean, in my Mama Luigi one, I zoomed in on Luigi's butt, where that scene where he has like a big butt crack for some reason, and I zoomed in on it and had Michael Rosen say, "Butt!" Yeah. That's like the only time I can think of where I've referenced. I think in that same video I also did use the, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's like, yeah.
I've wanted to make a full-on Michael Rosen YTP. I mean, I made one like within my, I think it was within my first year of making YTPs. I did one that wasn't very good, looking back on it. But I think it could be fun to try out, but I mean, that wasn't really the question, so probably shouldn't dwell on that for too much longer.
Oh yeah, that's right. This wasn't about Michael Rosen YTPs.
No, it was about how can you improve. So you can improve by getting rid of Michael Rosen.
I mean, if you want to use Michael Rosen, go for it, but...
No. Which actually, that's another, we were talking, like, at the beginning about the future, like 5-10 years from now, what YTP will be like, and I mentioned I could see, like, kind of splitting off into different groups. I could definitely see Michael Rosen YTPs kind of becoming their own thing. They kind of almost already are, like, that's...
Yeah.
Michael Rosen is, like, the only thing I can really think of, the only source I can really think of that kind of has its own community. Like, Spadinner kind of does to a lesser extent, but I feel like more people are inclined to use Spadinner than they are to use Michael Rosen, whereas there's like a smaller but more dedicated group of Michael Rosen poopers.
Yeah, it's like a little cult, not
Exactly.
in an insulting way, but like, they do their own thing.
Well, didn't Michael Rosen himself even compare himself to like a cult in the YTP community or something like that?
Is somewhere. I didn't listen to that interview.
Yeah. Anyway, move on to the next
question.
Yeah, next question from I don't know how to pronounce that. Tengeku, something like that. 87.
Okay.
Has an anime character as a profile. I'm assuming it's or it could be an anime reference. I guess I don't know. Asks, are there any YT poops that you would consider underrated?
Tons. I wish I could remember any though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is it's like if there's any underrated YTP, well, for one thing, there's a chance that maybe in the time that it's been a thing, it's maybe blown up and I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like I can't think of any off the top of my head. I know there are some. But...
What if we just slightly change the question and ask about underrated YTPers? Because I think it's much easier to come up with underrated YTPers than underrated YTPs. Because and also I feel like. Underrated YTP channels will probably have a lot of underrated YTPs.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, of course.
I mean, Kier Upton is really good.
Kier Upton. Oh, Kier Upton asked us a question earlier, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, he makes good videos.
He was
cool.
the second guest we had on Poopcast. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, you should check out the playlist I have on here on this channel, Poopcast channel, where every recommended video from our guests, I put them all in a playlist so you could watch through them.
Oh, super cool.
64's, he does really short glitch YTPs, but I know his stuff is pretty good too.
Yeah, I like 64's.
I was actually I might still do this, but I was just recently considering making like a video that's like top 10, or maybe not call it top 10, but like 10 underrated YTP channels, where it'd be like just talk about 10 YouTube poop channels that have under 1,000 subscribers or under 500 subscribers or just something like that, just to kind of...
Sure, yeah.
Does it have to be under 1,000?
Well, I'd probably set it to under 1,000. So I kind of feel like once you get to 1,000, you've kind of, you've started to make it more or less in the YTP community, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree there.
Yeah.
The couple that come to mind, I mentioned Crash Matilda earlier. Crash Matilda makes really awesome videos, and you should check him out. And another one
just recently watched his Gravity Falls YTP, and then
that was super cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about sub count for either of the ones that I have in mind, but the other one is Fiddle Diddle Riddle Diddle.
Okay.
Mostly Michael Rosen stuff, but oh man, this person is very good at what they do, and even when it's not like a Michael Rosen YouTube poop, it's still like super super high quality and a criminally low number of subscribers.
Mm-hmm. Here's one. I put one of his videos on my favorite YTPs of 2017. His name is Darls_Chickens. For anybody who watched that list or watched the playlist of the YTPs that I put on there, he made the Arthur YTP. He's only has 92 subscribers as of right now.
That is insane. How is it spelled?
It's just Charles Dickens, but the CH and the D are swapped around, so it's Darls Chickens.
I should have put that together.
There's also Master Sword. He makes good stuff. He also usually makes like shorter videos.
The Penis Man?
Yeah, the Penis Man,
Okay.
as you call him.
Yes.
Does Dark Sparkish have 1,000 subscribers yet?
I'm not subscribed to him, so I don't know.
Oh, I've been subscribed to him for a long time, actually. I think I was subscribed before it, like back when he had like 500, I think.
Here's one that's really, really good. Let me see. I'm going to check and see when they started. 2010, so I guess they've been around for a little while. I don't know if they were making YTPs that whole time. But I just found out about them this year with the new video they uploaded on January 1st. They're called Ganonymous. It's like anonymous, but with a G at the beginning, so it's like Ganon. They make like some of the most unique and trippy CDI YTPs. Not like trippy YTPs like Logan was just talking about, but they're very like the most recent one's called The King's Vision in a Dream, and it's really like it's the best representation of like a fever dream that I've ever seen in YTP. I know that's kind of like a cliche thing to say, but it is true. It's very trippy, but in a very entertaining way. It has a bit of a slow start, I will say that. I think it's like the first 30 seconds are very, very slow, but once you get past that, it's very entertaining the whole way through. It's really, really similar to, who was that other channel? Oh, Mad Anonymous is an older trippy CDI YTPer. It's very similar to that style.
What if it's the same person?
It could be, I guess, but I don't know why they would do that. It's similar, but it's distinctly different.
I mean, similar videos, similar name. It could be.
Yeah, or it could just be inspired by.
Could be. I'm trying to think of who else there is, though. I know there's a lot of YouTube poopers I'm subscribed to who have like 1,000 subscribers or less.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm having a hard time thinking of any.
There's also I'm Bored 777. I put him on my favorite YTP list as well. He has right now 299 subscribers. But yeah, I mean
That's not enough.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I think I might do like an entire video where I just talk about underrated YTP channels. So maybe I'll just kind of stop there. If you have any other ones you can think of that you can list off.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I think you should definitely make that video. I would look forward to it.
I'd consider doing like a list of YouTube poopers. I think it was something I was considering for my 1K sub special, which I never ended up doing anything for.
Weren't you gonna do like a Rick and Morty YTP?
I got started on it, and then I ran out of ideas, and I'm like, I can't do this. I think it was just, it's like, I could maybe do one now. I just don't know if I would use the pilot, just because it's like, I ran out of ideas pretty quickly. I guess, when I say the pilot, I mean the first, like, the first episode of season 1, not the pilot. The first episode of season 1, which was titled Pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about what was it called?
I haven't watched anything from the show.
It was before they were called Rick and Morty. It was still back to
Doc and Marty.
Yeah, it was still a Back to the Future parody. So, which I never actually watched that.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
Underrated YTPers.
And then we started talking about Rick and Morty.
Yes, because you did. All right. If you don't have anything else to add, we can move on to the next question then.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, this one's from Granted Gaming, who says, question, what the fuck is a Sonic?
Good JonTron.
It's a really, really crappy restaurant that doesn't give you free refills.
Oh, I've never been to a Sonic before, because there's none around northern Minnesota. I think the nearest one would have to be like North Dakota, or like there might be some in like the middle or lower part of the state.
I've been to a Sonic a few times, and honestly, I remember really liking their food, so...
Okay. You're probably biased, though. You probably wanted to like it just because of Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, it was just, I remember, like, I actually really liked the food there.
Did they have chili dogs at Sonic?
That would be funny, but I don't know if they do.
Okay. Next question is from Chad Woods. Asks, what is the meaning of life?
Death. The meaning of life is that you're gonna fucking die.
You're gonna fuck and die, or fucking die?
Sure, maybe some people do get to fuck. Some people die a virgin. Some people die a virgin.
Like you.
Some people die not losing their virginity, crying because they're dying a virgin.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know. I don't know.
It wasn't even that funny. What do you...
Just your reaction.
Okay.
Just I say fucked up shit like this and you never react like that.
Yeah, but you don't say it on the podcast usually. I think there's something about us both being in the same room that I think it's kind of affecting the way that we're doing this somehow, for better or worse. But
More or less.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think I scared Luke away.
Oh yes, he left. He left an hour ago. You've been talking about Rick and Morty.
Yep. Bye. I guess the meaning of life. I mean, if we're turning it into, because I feel like that's a joke question, but if we're turning it into a serious thing, then I will just very briefly say to enjoy yourself and to make life more bearable and make it possible for other people to enjoy themselves as well. So, like, if other people are enjoying themselves and they're not hurting anyone, let them do their thing. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. That's the meaning of life, to sum it up.
See, I like my answer better where I said
No, I don't.
everybody dies. That's the meaning of life.
Everyone died.
Yes.
My answer was obviously a joke.
Just really briefly, has anybody ever made a joke? Like, I feel like it could, in a YouTube poop, like, I feel like it could work if you just kind of did it quickly and then moved on to the next thing, like a scene from like a movie or a TV show where someone walks into the room and says, "What's the meaning of this?" And just like have it so like it just says, there's just text that says life, like what they're looking at, and so like walk into a room and there's life and says, "What's the meaning of this?" And it just cuts to something else randomly.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny actually.
I call dibs on that. You can't take it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Logan will though, because he's a dick.
I'm not gonna take it. I'm probably not even gonna remember it in 5 seconds.
It's probably not even that funny. Anyway, Chad Woods also asks, if you got your arm cut off, would it be a flesh wound?
For sure.
Well, what's the definition of wound? Is that like a specific type of injury, or is that just like an injury in general?
I don't have an answer for that.
Just appreciate
because if it is like just injury in general, technically speaking, getting your arm off would be a flesh wound, because it's an injury to yourself. It's an injury to your flesh. It's
according to this definition, a wound is a type of injury which happens relatively quickly, in which skin is torn, cut, or punctured, or where blunt force trauma causes a contusion.
Okay.
So probably yes. If your arm gets cut off, I imagine that would be quick enough and the skin would tear, so that would qualify.
Okay,
and because yes, I get it. It's a Monty Python reference. I have that movie on my shelf, and also on my shelf is a little pop figure I was given of the Black Knight with his limbs missing.
I love how the questions we've gotten the most out of have been the reference ones.
Yeah, well, and those are the most fun ones. Because it's fun to take things seriously when they're not supposed to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I guess.
And okay. Next one comes from Airshots22. Asks, do you have any comedic influences outside of YTP that play a part in your YTPs in one way or another? If not, what are your comedic influences in general?
Oh,
well, certainly Homestar Runner. That's kind of a no-brainer.
Oh yeah.
I like a lot of comedy. I like just about every kind of comedy that's out there. I mentioned very briefly that I've been getting into anime lately, but like the super serious stuff doesn't interest me. I'm more into like the shows about nothing that are just about like people living their lives and funny crap happening to them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I love all different kinds of comedy, even some of the darker stuff.
Yeah. I think for me, like for like early comedic influences, like the things that inspired me the most when I was a kid, definitely have to list Garfield, the comic strip, and especially the Garfield and Friends TV show as being huge influences. I mean, obviously that's, the name Jimmy Davis is in a roundabout way comes from Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield. Mm-hmm. And then another big one, Abbott and Costello. Like I still really like Abbott and Costello. I think they're still just as funny today as they were when I was a kid.
I I guess, like, of course, comedy stuff that I liked as a kid, Spongebob, Garfield, Homestar Runner.
Yes.
I think it's safe to say all three of us are pretty big Homestar Runner fans.
Yeah, I think...
Which is fortunate, because we're so few and far between nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if you go onto YouTube and you start typing in Teen Girl Squad in the search, there aren't even any suggested results. Like, if you type in Teen Girl SQ or whatever, Teen Girl Squad doesn't pop up as, like, a recommended search.
That's so strange to me.
It's sad.
I every time I reference Homestar Runner or mention it to someone outside of the internet, they're always like, "What the fuck is that?" And it's like, and it's just like, you're really missing out. Which is, I think, why I was so glad when Game Grumps mentioned it and said everybody should watch it, because it's just like, here's these people that are probably more popular than Homestar Runner at this point saying you should go watch Homestar Runner, so that it might get a bit more attention now.
And, the thing with Homestar Runner is the fact that, most things that, like, you enjoyed as a kid or whatever, you grow up and you realize they're not nearly as funny as you thought they were. But with Homestar Runner, it's funnier today than it was as a kid. And not only that, but the stuff they make today, like, they're few and far in between, but they still make stuff today, and it's still just as funny as their old stuff.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, it's like, because most of the things we enjoyed as kids were things that were made for kids, and so naturally they're, like, not as appealing to us anymore. But with Homestar Runner, it was humor for everyone, and it was made in such a way that it was, like, clean enough that you could show it to your kids and they wouldn't have a million questions about, like, how something worked.
Yeah. I mean, I still like, obviously, I still like the early SpongeBob stuff, but I think that does play into the fact that I think that there's more adult jokes in the earlier episodes of SpongeBob than there is in the later episodes. Mm-hmm. Like, I really do think that the early stuff was really good. I still like it.
I feel like it was really ahead of its time in terms of how it did certain kind of off-the-wall humor.
Yeah.
In much the same way that, like, when Adventure Time came out, it was kind of considered groundbreaking in just, like, how it was paced and the kind of emotions that it showed, because they weren't really things that you were expecting, and the sort of, like, sad but funny humor just, like, wasn't a thing in kids' shows. And so I feel like SpongeBob pushed the envelope in a very similar way when it was new.
I guess the interesting thing is, like, a lot of the comedy stuff I still like. I mean, I watch, like, adult cartoons now. Like, I watch Rick and Morty, I watch South Park, I watch The Simpsons. But I still find myself watching a lot of shows that are considered kids' shows, like Adventure Time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess cartoons in general, I really like cartoons. That's, like, probably, like, my biggest comedic influence outside of YTP.
Yeah. And one more thing I'll say about, watching stuff stuff you watch as a kid that's not nearly as funny as you are, or as it was when you're an adult rewatching it. One of the things that actually surprised me when I first started making YTPs was just, because my earlier YouTube poops, a lot of them centered around VeggieTales, and it really surprised me how much legitimately funny humor is in some of the earlier episodes of VeggieTales. Not like the first 2 or 3 episodes, like those are really not good at all. Like, I think even Phil Vischer and Mike Naraki don't really like those that much. They kind of the commentary for those episodes. I'd really recommend getting the DVDs of VeggieTales, if only for the commentaries, because those are very entertaining. But like some of when VeggieTales was kind of at its prime, I thought there's a lot of legitimately funny jokes in there, and like I said, listening to the commentary and like listening to the Phil Vischer has a podcast. Listening to that, you kind of get a sense of his sense of humor, and you can definitely see a lot of, like, Monty Python type of inspired jokes and stuff coming through the earlier episodes.
I feel like in particular the Song of the Cebu has aged really well.
Yeah. Yeah, and but then, like, after Phil Vischer stopped writing the episodes, like, and I was rewatching through all of them, and after the last one he did, I think, was The Lord of the Beans, and then after that it was kind of went over to somebody else, and you can really tell the humor just completely. It went from being kid friendly, obviously mostly centered around, like, kids jokes, but with an occasional legitimately funny adult joke hidden in there here and there, to just being like completely random, silly kids humor. And so that's one of the things. Like a lot of people still to this day ask me if I'll ever make a third Larry Man, and if I'll do the Bad Apple, make a YTP of the Bad Apple episode. And honestly, rewatching it, that one's just, it's not good at all. Like the first two Larry Boy episodes are actually, there's some legitimately entertaining stuff in there, but the Bad Apple is just, it's just bad.
Pun intended.
Yes, I guess.
I guess the thing about VeggieTales is it's like the earliest stuff is it's something even now I feel like I could watch and get some enjoyment out of, but like the later stuff, I mean, as a little kid it was fine, but it's like now that I've gotten a bit older, it's like this, I don't really like this that much.
I still really like the Star of Christmas. That might be my favorite VeggieTales episode.
Would you say it's one of your favorite Christmas specials?
Yes. I mean, I don't know for sure if it'd rank on the top 10, but it's if you mix in like nostalgia and the fact that, you know, rewatching it still has some legitimately good jokes and visuals and stuff like that, I think it might rank higher than, might make it to the top 10 list, but I don't know for sure. But
let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, we have two more questions then. One more from YouTube and then the last one from Jallerbo on Twitter.
Sure.
This one is from Luke Vinmo, asks, how do you approach YTP making? And then he has like a really long explanation about how he kind of approaches YTP. It's not that I ignoring that or whatever, I just don't really feel like reading over that. Basically, it's just asking like, what's your technique for making it? You know, do you watch it first and get joke ideas? You just kind of make it up as you go along, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll be sure to go back through and look at the rest of that comment because I didn't read it beforehand. But yeah, I would say that when usually I'll watch something and then sort of decide later, like, I could use that in a video, and typically I'll have a few jokes in mind ahead of time before I even throw it into the editor. And like that's usually the thing. Like if I have a couple of like really, really good joke ideas, that's what gets me to actually sit down and make it. That's not necessarily always the case. Sometimes I pick the source for some other reason and I start editing it and come up with jokes along the way. I think like 80% of what I edit is just kind of done there in the moment. But usually, like for the better videos that I've made, or at least the ones that are widely considered to be better, those are the ones that like I knew what jokes I was gonna make well in advance.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure me and Logan have talked about this a couple times before, and yeah, basically the way I do it is usually I'll just kind of have one or two general ideas for jokes and whatever. Very rarely I'll take a source that I don't have any ideas for at all and just start messing with it. Those are usually not my better YTPs. Like I think when I did the Luke It Is YTP, I don't think I had any ideas going into that, and I really wish I could have done more for that one. It's mostly just because of my computer. That was like when I noticed my computer was really starting to screw up, and so I'm actually surprised I got as much as I did.
Oh, sure.
But with that one, I don't think I had any joke ideas going in. I might have had one or two. But yeah.
But you know, that was still a really good minute of stuff. So you know, even if you don't have those ideas in advance, usually something will come into your mind.
Yeah, I feel like if you mess around with stuff enough in the editing program, you'll eventually get ideas. But I think it works best if you're very familiar with the source. So then you kind of know what you can do for like sentence mixing and other random jokes, stuff like that. But yeah, I guess in short, the way that I go about making YTPs usually is I'll have one or two general ideas and then just kind of mess around with it in Vegas and see what happens. Sometimes it turns out good, sometimes it turns out awful.
I guess it's kind of a case-by-case basis for me. Like if sometimes I'll rewatch the source, but like if it's a Spongebob episode from like the first 3 seasons, I probably have that episode memorized, so I don't need to rewatch it. Like I think the one I did of SpongeBob's house party, it was like, you know, I've seen this episode like 100 times, so I didn't bother rewatching it. I just went in, started editing, thought of joke ideas, didn't even have to rewatch the source. But like if it's, say, a newer source, I might want to rewatch it first just to get some more ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, usually, whenever I go in, I almost never go in without any joke ideas. Usually, I have at least one joke idea.
Right.
I go in, sometimes that joke idea I have doesn't even make it in the final video.
Oh yeah, that's happened with me before. But I think really quickly before we move on to the last question, I will say it's a very different experience making YTPs doing a tennis match. I don't know, you've never done a tennis match before, have you?
I have not.
Okay, you should, if you ever find someone you want to do a tennis match with, I definitely recommend it, because it is I like the one that I'm doing with MP Carlson. It's a very different experience, because like I have jokes that I planned out for round 2 that I never got around to using that I'll probably end up using in round 3, and it's so crazy, so hectic. It's just, like I said, it's a very, very different experience. I'd really recommend everybody who makes YTPs to try at least one tennis match. It's
Yeah.
I think after this one, though, I think with future tennis matches I do, I'll probably end up doing them a little bit more simplified. Because as much fun as this is, it's a long wait in between rounds. I think July was when the first round was uploaded, July of 2016. So by the time the final round comes out, the 6th round, it'll have easily been 2 years since the first round came out.
But oh man, each round is so good. Like, that is hands down my favorite tennis match, is that one between you guys, because like I can really tell that you're both are putting a lot of love and heart into it.
I think we've both mentioned before that the rounds we've made, that's like some of our favorite work we've ever done, and I'm really gonna go all out with this final round. I really want to make sure that it ends on a really high note. I have a lot of ideas planned out for it. It's going to be a lot of intense work, and I will say, I think this video will probably be better than the King's Nostalgia Trip whenever that one gets done.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, I guess we can move on then to the final question from Jallerbo. Asks, are there any sources or editing techniques you guys are tired of seeing in YTPs?
Nope. I like them all.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, it's like, I know, like, for example, some people I've noticed are just, at this point, they fucking hate Michael Rosen YTPs.
Yeah.
But me, it's just like, I think every single source can be good. I don't really get sick of any source.
Well, it's not necessarily sources so much as, I mean, it can be sources, but just anything at all in YTPs, any cliches or whatever.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take back my I like them all comment, because I think that anything can be done well if it's done tastefully and in moderation and all that. But I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably just be, and I am very, very guilty of this, so in no way am I saying that like I'm free from any kind of judgment for it.
Mm-hmm.
But where you just here's the cat again. She's jumping up next to the microphone. It's when you basically just have a character. You sentence mix them to say a thing, and then you put up a picture of the thing that they said, and that's it. And it's just like, just a reference to something for the sake of there being a reference to something without inserting it into a sentence or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think we're all guilty of that.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody's done it. I'm probably going to do it again at some point in the future. We probably all will.
Oh, yeah.
But again, if it's done tastefully and it's done in moderation, then it's not an issue. But that's one that I tend to see a lot of in people's like first YouTube poops that they share with me. Like that's one of the ones that I'm just like, it's just more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've definitely tried to improve on is I think it's definitely really noticeable if you go between like my first year YTPs to like the more recent ones I've done, is that I think I've gotten a lot better at connecting things together.
Mm-hmm.
When I was first starting out, like my first ever YTP, just for example, just had sentence makes Bob to say, instead of saying welcome to VeggieTales, welcome to Teletubbies, and there was no reason for that. Nothing came out of that. It was just pointless.
Well, I like that. I like that because he's saying welcome to an unrelated show, and that's pretty funny. It's just when like a character out of nowhere says something like Pokemon, and it shows a picture of a Pokemon, and that's it, and that's the joke.
Okay, yeah. I swear I had something in mind for this question, and I can't think of what it was now, and it's going to drive me crazy because I know as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to remember it. You can talk a little bit, Logan. I'll try to think of.
But yeah, I mean, like, most editing techniques, it's like, I feel like just about everything can be made funny.
I just remember what it was, but you can keep going.
So, really, nothing, I mean, I guess random references for no reason, like we were just talking about. I mean, we're all guilty of it, but it is one of those things where it's like, even though we're all guilty of it, I think we all know that there's no point to it.
We know better.
Yeah.
We know better, but we're just like, fuck it.
Okay, the one thing that I would say, and it's not just because, it's not, I don't dislike it because I can't do it with Sony Vegas, but it's just something that I get really sick of. I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the sort of trippy YTPs, you know when you're watching a YTP, I think it's in Premiere you can do this, where it'll, like Logan was mentioning, like it'll play like Vaporwave type music, and like it'll start having like 3D characters are scrolling around, and it's, people can use that in a way that's really good, but 99% of the time it's kind of like the same copy paste kind of look to it. I don't know for sure how hard it is to do it. It might be a very, very difficult thing to do, but the fact that it's just kind of showing weird, trippy, basically like a music player visualizer or something like that in a YTP. It's just, I don't find it particularly interesting.
See, I think this is where me and you really start to disagree on that, because it's like, I really like to see that type of stuff. I don't know why, I just really like it.
I like it when people can do something unique and clever with it, but I just mean like when something happens in a YTP, like they get done with a joke, whatever, and then just start playing the Vaporwave music, and like it starts scrolling around a 3D environment with like the characters kind of wobbling back and forth and stuff like that. It's, if you can do something clever, interesting, entertaining, and or funny with it, then it's good. But like I said, 99% of the time it feels like the same copy paste effect. It reminds me of just like it reminds me of like when people first started using Sony Vegas and YTPs, and you'd see people use like the TV look for no reason other than the fact that they could. But I don't know if I'm really alone on that one or not. And like I said, I don't hate it. I don't think that it should be, that people should stop doing it. I just don't like it when there's no real purpose for it. It's just there because they can do it. It's just there to kind of fill time.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from. I don't mind it as much, but I definitely can see where you're coming from with it.
So was that...
Thank you for that question, Jallerbo. We love what you do.
Yes, Jallerbo. Did you see that his Spinge sex joke event Horizon? Like it was blocked by Viacom. I think it might have even been taken down by Viacom and got a strike or something like that. But Cool Cat helped him get it back up, and then YouTube took it down and gave him a community strike for I forget what it was. It was something really stupid, like for encouraging bullying or terrorist act.
Yeah,
something.
You'd think it would be for sexual content, but no, it was for something completely different.
Yeah, but then Cool Cat, I'm assuming it was Cool Cat, helped him get it back up again, so it's back up again now. But yeah, I rewatched that one.
Cool Cat would help me get it back up.
Huh?
Oh, nothing.
I think I heard you. Okay. But yeah, I rewatched that one the other day, and I don't think anybody ever has or ever will be as good as Jallerbo is with SpongeBob YTPs. He very clearly knows exactly what he's doing, and I mean, I guess I could see some people not really liking them if they're not into fast-paced YTPs, but I like almost all YTPs, so for fast-paced ones, as long as they're actually funny or well edited or whatever, which Jellarbos are very funny and very, very, very well edited. So, anyway.
Well, thank you everyone for all the questions. Those were some solid cues.
Yeah, and how long have we been going on for?
We have been in this Skype call for 2 hours and 29 minutes.
Okay, that's a good length podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks for taking the time to be on here.
For sure.
Like I said, for the audience, this is the final episode of Season 1 of Poopcast. We're going to...
R.I.P. Season 1.
Yep, we're going to take a break for a month or two, whatever, however long we decide to do that.
Maybe even 8 of them.
Probably not 8 of them. And we'll have some videos that will go up. Like, I want to do a... well, we have a bunch of, like, behind-the-scenes recordings, like... recordings from other episodes, like before we officially started the episode or after we ended, the stuff that could be entertaining enough to go into a big compilation video, or big compilation episode, I guess. There's also the original unaired pilot that I still have the footage for. We recorded that one in the car with the camera sitting on like the cup holder or whatever, so the audio is shit, but it's a little better than that. But I might upload that. I just obviously put a disclaimer that like the audio is absolutely terrible, but you can still tell what we're saying. And it's short. It's like 45 minutes, I think.
Sure.
And then I also want to try to do like a highlights thing where like I take 1 or 2 chunks from each episode and put it into one big compilation. I think I might upload that to my main channel just for... because I feel like that might introduce some new people to the series who might not know about it. But anyway, that's
get some good promo in there.
Yeah, but anyway, that's really not too important right now. But just so you know, that's what's going on. But then
Sure.
The last thing we need from you, DaThings1. Should I call you DaThings1 or Luke? I guess I never asked you that.
It doesn't really matter.
Can I call you Luke1?
Yeah, no, don't call me Luke 1.
The Luke's one.
The Luke1.
Okay.
Okay,
The Luke's one.
the Luke's one.
All I ask is that if we're outside the circle of YTP, to not call me DaThings1.
That's fair.
But because that's the topic here, that is A-okay.
Okay.
But you were gonna ask me?
Yeah, I was going to say, we ask all of our guests this at the end of the episode. What are the 3 videos from your channel that you would recommend people check out if they've never seen your content before, or maybe if they just watched a couple here and there and didn't really have that much interest and they kind of want to try again? And
Sure,
I will link to those in the description as well as add them to the playlist. I mentioned this earlier in the podcast. We have a playlist of every single recommended video from all of our guests, and so you can, for people listening, you can either click the individual links to watch the videos, or you can click the playlist and marathon through the entire massive YTP playlist, which is something you could do while we're taking a break. That'd be a fun thing to do.
Right. So I wouldn't say that these are like the definitive 3 or anything like that, but I do think that they're pretty good for beginners. They would be Zooks, which we talked about for a minute ago. It's a YouTube poop of the zoo books that were available in the 80s and 90s. The next one would be YTP Vimes, which is sort of a play on the Vine platform that's no longer a thing, but it's just a bunch of like really quick, like 7-second jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one that I still kind of to this day think is like my favorite one that I've ever made, Steven Bribes for 7 Broths, which is a 10-ish minute, I think it might be a little more than that, YouTube poop of the movie 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, and that one's pretty great because it doesn't rely on pop culture references, so you could show it to anyone and it would probably be funny.
Okay. All right. And again, like I said, those will all be linked in the description. There will not be a new episode in 2 weeks like there normally would. We're going to take a break. So, yeah. Logan, do you have anything to end off the first season? You never have anything to end off the episodes. Did you plan out something to say for the very end of the first season?
I didn't, but I will say this.
What?
Goodbye, see you next season.
That was stupid.
I know, but I had to say something or else you would have been pissed off.
I am pissed off.
I'll steal Jellarbos thing that he said at the end of his update video.
Okay.
Keep memeing and eat semen.
Alright, bye.